Can we just rag on French a little bit? Because the French language, great as it is by far the worst language for numbers I've ever encountered.
So bad.
Yes. Oh my God.
Why? It's the hardest numbering system in the world.
The dumbest thing ever.
Hello and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Sam.
I'm Danielle.
And this is the podcast about sharing your weird media finds with your friends who don't know what you're talking about. And Danielle, I'm pretty sure you don't know what I'm talking about, even though we are in our fifth Hyperion episode for this particular book, The Rise of Endymion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course there's Philip joining us from Mind Duck Books podcast, our, I don't know how to say it, long-suffering companion, going through all the stages of grief as he joins us on this journey through the end of the Hyperion Cantos.
I just re-listened to the previous episode and I'm so angry. Thank you for having me again.
He did homework.
Wow. What made you angry specifically? Actually, we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we do the recap, Philip. We'll get to your anger then, because I'm sure Danielle will need help.
Philip should recap it. I don't remember it.
Yes, Danielle, that's the point.
Even though I wrote the summary, it's not in my head.
We'll get to the summary in just a second, but just as a quick reminder, this is hopefully, unless the last part is jam-packed full of dense exposition, our penultimate Hyperion episode.
No, what are we going to do with our lives?
Right? I am both very much looking forward to being done with this and kind of terrified because I feel like my purpose in life will be fulfilled. I'll have no longer anything to do. So,
are you saying this is the last episode ever?
Second to last episode of Hyperion.
Oh, I was afraid for a second. I was like, I'm going to jam-pack everything that's left into today. I almost got a heart attack.
No, gosh. If we did that, this would be a 7-hour episode, believe me.
Exactly.
I barely got through this section.
Exactly my point.
But no, this is after next week, Phil. You'll be free of the curse. The curse of Hyperion will be over.
Yay,
My
Philip.
hands are almost shaking. Cannot take it.
You're like on methadone. Your hands are you're like an addict finally getting off their fix.
Yep.
Let me ask you, Phil, what stage of grief have you found yourself in today?
Did you get out of anger?
This is continuous anger flow on today.
Keep that feeling, Phil. You're going to need that again for this episode.
I've managed to stay in anger for like 12 or 15 episodes. So.
This is definitely the stage that has to be prolonged, and the acceptance will be at the very end of this series. Hopefully.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
I'm praying it will come.
Oh, man. When we get to certain parts of this episode, acceptance may be elusive. I forgot everything. I'm not going to get into it now. We'll get into my feelings about this book later when they come up. And boy, I have some big feelings. I'm like a toddler with my big feelings all busting out.
I have to say that I am very excited we're getting some answers. I remember Danielle in the last episode told me that I wanted to hear the answer about these lion, tigers, and bears. And when I finally got it, I just said nice, and that was all. I couldn't stop laughing at that.
It was so underwhelming.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, there's no answer, but I'll take it. Let's just move on. It's something. I'll take something as an answer.
Philip, I admire your ability to take an answer, any answer, regardless of how fulfilling or satisfying it is, and just accept it and be satisfied with that. I do not have that ability. I'm sorry.
My biggest worry has always been that it's just going to be dismissed and never mentioned again. Like the Shrike will just slowly disappear and never talked about. But we got an answer. Some kind of answer, so it's better.
Let me tell you, if you like the Shrike, you're going to hate this episode.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's so sad. Such
you
a
might
good
love
character.
It. I don't know. You're going to learn a lot about the Shrike. That's weird.
I don't want to know anything about the Shrike.
Too bad.
Well, I went on a giant deep dive and I know all the things about the Shrike now. I'll tell you later.
Well, before we get into this penultimate episode, Danielle, as is tradition, I think you need to recap the last episode for us so we know where we stand and we can all get caught up.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
Everybody makes fun of me for these, but it's been 5 weeks since we did this last one.
It's also been 4 books almost.
I don't make fun of you for forgetting these. I just find it extremely entertaining.
Okay, so let's see. He showed up, right?
Yeah,
At
you open
the
with him
planet?
arriving at which planet? If you remember the name, 5
Mountain
points.
planet.
Good enough.
Giant mountain planet in the sky.
No, the Buddhist mountain planet in the sky.
It
Okay,
starts with
whatever.
T, I
Giant mountain
guess.
planet. And there, he sees what's her face, Aenea.
Which what's his face? Okay, because there's
Aenea.
also several ladies he meets here who are very surprising to him.
Right, but he's seen Aenea, who's aged up, right?
Yes, yes.
Because of time.
That's how time works. Yes, it goes forward. Very good.
They go to a fancy party.
Well, that's way later. You skipped
No.
ahead. Philip, if you want to help out here, please jump in.
I remember a very extended section about building a temple and
Yes.
describing all the tools for no reason.
Yep.
Yeah, most of this book is just him wandering around, not listening to Aenea tell us all the good things.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
I'm waiting for Danielle to mention your favorite parts that were coming up again and again and again.
Danielle, you don't remember? After many, many chapters, Raul and Aenea finally get to express their love for each other
Yeah,
physically.
no, I would have gotten there, but I thought
That happens way early.
It does. Pretty immediately, they have sex for reasons. And then he keeps calling her, like, some diminutive child. Kid.
Yeah. And that does not stop throughout the rest of this book that I've seen so far, so
He
get
keeps-
used to it.
Directly referencing the fact that she was a child for most of their relationship.
Yeah.
While they're having sex. I don't know why. That's the whole, I'm pretty sure that's the whole thing until they get to the little party thing with all, and she puts a veil on because she's like, this is going to keep me secret from all the other people that are here. That does not work. And then they have some kind of big party, and then
Who's they?
I don't know, the Buddhist guy or whoever it was.
The Dalai Lama?
Dalai Lama, there it is.
The Buddhist guy. Yeah, that guy.
I couldn't remember what was happening. The Dalai Lama, who's like, you're the smartest person I've ever seen when he talks to Aenea.
Yep. You've taught me all about Zen and Buddhism. Thank you for teaching me, the Dalai Lama, about Zen.
So dumb. And then the bad guys are all there, and then they're like, hey, we know you. And then they try
Which
to throw
bad guy?
down. I don't know.
Come on, you know the name.
Do I?
Yeah, it's everyone's favorite name to say in a million different ways. Philip?
Philip?
Moneta?
Not
Moneta
Moneta
Moneta?
Moneta. No, she's
Oh,
not,
but
she's
we
not
say
their
that
enemy.
name.
She's Rachel. She's there, but not there. She's the, like, killer machine.
Oh, what is her name?
Nemes or Nemes.
Oh, yeah, Nemenu.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Nemenu's there. Anyway, they have a throwdown. They do some rumble snaps. They get into a fight. Strike
No, they
comes.
don't. They
almost get
they
into
do
a
nothing.
fight.
almost get into a fight.
And then the
Yes.
strike comes and is like, throw down some beats, let's have a party. And then he disappears. And then they have sex again. And they
Well,
escape.
that happens just
or
all the time.
something.
Okay.
Just constantly going on.
Philip, do you want to try to fill in any of those gaps?
We
Those Swiss
skip-
cheese holes.
Skip
that-
some crucial details, such as
Yes, please.
Aenea already had a child with a different guy.
Yes.
It was very
Possibly different guy. Come on.
Oh my god.
It's almost certainly Raul, but Raul refuses to let it go and cannot get over the fact that she may have had a relationship that didn't involve him at some point in her life.
Yeah.
I also
Aenea has
theorized
her
that-
time meltdown.
The
Yeah.
troll is his own father because he traveled back in time and he's his own child.
So
I
you
like
think-
that theory.
So you think Raul is his own father
Yeah.
and Aenea's child, and so Aenea's
Yes.
lover is
That's
her
right.
own son?
Yes.
That does that might be too incestuous even for this
That's a
book.
whole new level to this discomfort, uncomfortable sex scene level of
That's
cringe.
I mean, if anyone could pull that off, it would be Simmons. Yeah.
We got to talk about my favorite Technobabble extended exposition dump that I was very surprised about. Not only did we learn about the origin of the Shrike, we also learned that if you want to access the void that binds, you have to literally bathe in Jesus Christ's blood.
Oh,
And
You had to drink
Stuff like that.
blood. Drink it, not bathe in it. Come on.
I forgot about Jesus. Jesus is a time traveler.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Well,
believe they brought up even Jesus.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my lord.
As one of many. It's not only Jesus. I think the implication is most major religious figures are those slightly evolved people like Aenea is that had access to the void which binds and could pass on that genetic mutation through people drinking their blood or something. I don't get how that works, but then I'm not Dan Simmons, so there's a lot of people who don't understand.
So Aenea can access the void that binds because she shares the DNA of Jesus that was passed to her by Keats by bleeding on her.
No.
I like that, though. Let's pretend that's the story.
I mean, Jesus is his own thing. He's separate. Aenea had a genetically engineered virus created by elements within the core that allows humans, modifies humans, evolves humans to be able to access the void which binds, which was given to the Keats hybrid with the intention that when he has sex with Braun Lamia, their child would be the right combination of core intellect and human empathy with this virus to become this new human leader. Messiah figure, though Aenea insists she's not a messiah.
Tomatoes, same thing.
Sure, got it. Perfect, yep.
I couldn't deal when you said they have to take Christ's body and blood literally to access that was something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So apparently, even though Jesus didn't have this engineered virus, it still worked the same way where you drink his blood and it still works. So
that was
I don't know how
hilarious.
that happened. Yep.
And we got an answer, like I mentioned, about the lions and tigers and bears who...
What was that answer? Because I forgot.
Yeah, they just are in the void that binds and they judge humanity. They decide
they're Q
gets to
figures.
access. There's like the Q figure in Star Trek, of course.
Yes.
I imagine this is the last time we'll ever hear of them.
Nope.
Okay,
it gets
good.
dumber.
Great,
Nice.
I want to hear more. I thought that this was the closure I got and this is never going to be discussed again. That's what I assumed.
Be careful
So
what you
hopefully
wish
that's
for.
not
This is
the
a
case.
monkey's paw situation, I believe.
But my favorite part, so the whole computer scientist going crazy, creating the technocore and the Shrike kind of deal.
All right, so here's what we're going to do, Phil. I'm going to go through how the book presents this. I know you did some research, and you're going to come back to us with how reality mirrors what Dan Simmons describes as reality in the book. So Dan Simmons said there was this computer scientist who made a simulation of life to test evolution, to simulate evolution, and he made these 80-byte creatures, and he made a Reaper program that would go through and cull them at a certain timestamps. And these things evolved into various different kinds of creatures, and the evolutionary pressures created these parasitic little entities that eventually became the Technocore. And the Technocore has evolved from parasites. Their parasitic relationship with humanity is like their one defining feature.
Yep. So, spoiler, copy-paste and replace random words is
Got
the
it.
deal.
So what's the reality, Philip?
So I went on a little bit of a deep dive that almost made Danielle not join us today when she saw the messages. I kept spamming
not what
messages in our
happened.
group chat. And Danielle was just like nerds and she was out and...
I did. That is exactly what happened.
She's not
You
wrong.
So I don't know if I was trying to distract myself from thinking about Hyperion or if I was actually trying to do research for Hyperion, I don't know what, but I got very excited reading about the computer science of trying to simulate evolution and life. And as somebody who's, let's say, technologically inclined, in the Czech language, we call this, you have a feverish illness caused by your profession. It's like an idiom.
Passion. We might call that passion here.
So, of course, if you're a programmer, you know there is something called the game of life. It's like a simple programming exercise that creates like kind of living things. So this was much later, but before then, there was somebody called Thomas S. Ray in 1990s, and he created what is word by word described in this book. And it looks like he just verbatim copied the whole scientific paper into this book. Like he was like word by word saying what Sam was saying. And some of the things that didn't make any sense to me didn't make any sense because he just randomly flipped some details. Like, for example, so Thomas S. Ray created something called Tierra, which is a computer program to simulate evolution. And he created his own programming language that has 8 instructions.
Wow.
And you switched it for bytes. And I was like, why not bits? Excuse me, why is it 80 bytes?
I was going to ask you, because it says in the lovely documents you shared that the program started as 80 instructions long.
Exactly.
Which is not the same thing as 80 bytes for all you turbo nerds out there who are yelling at us. We agree.
They agree.
So,
Okay,
everything you said. So I read the whole paper from Thomas S. Ray, which I have to say more about him later if we have a few minutes because it's hilarious. But
Maybe we'll get to that as like a little treat for everyone at the end of the episode.
But he does mention parasites. He does mention the necrotic parasitism or whatever you said it was there. So that's one thing. So basically, he's trying to design different pieces of code that replicate and they parasite on each other. And there's like different aspects of how it evolves. And all the simple details that you mentioned that seemed very random are exactly in this scientific paper, word by word. And there are two very interesting details that are supposed to take care of the sort of management of the memory and time. Like, how do you make it so that it moves forward? Because if you just make programs replicate, they will just fill out the memory and that's it. And you
got to have some kind of evolutionary pressure on them.
Yeah. So he designed two things. One of them is called the Reaper and the other one is called the Slicer.
Oh, we didn't get the Slicer?
Yeah. That's exactly what I want to get to. So the Reaper is a self-replicating creature that takes care of a queue of the creatures that are like evolving, that kills the least evolved program with the most errors.
Okay.
And if you do something successful, you replicate successfully, then you go down in the queue. So that way the more like evolved and successfully advancing programs live longer, and the ones that are making more mistakes are killed off immediately, and that's how the evolution is kind of supported, I guess.
That's actually wildly impressive as an actual piece of scientific research.
So do you think that the Shrike kills people who make more mistakes more quickly, is the question. Is the inspiration holding on?
I don't know, but I want to know, what's the Slicer? Because that sounds more like the Shrike to me than anything.
So that's another, while I'm talking about this, please think about who or which character in the Hyperion Cantos is the Slicer, because I do have an answer.
Okay. I'm excited for this.
You put so much more effort into this than I do.
Or me, frankly.
So in a computer, you get a CPU, which is the processor, and that gets cycles. So you get something called like CPU time, which means how much time can the program have to run on the CPU. It cannot be everybody, it cannot be at the same time. So in comes the Slicer, and the Slicer slices the CPU time equally for different entities.
So it's like akin to a modern scheduler.
Exactly.
Got it.
It's very funny how they describe it. They have mother slice, child slice.
Oh no!
Slices.
So I love this.
Yeah. So long story short, it's just distribute allowance to live equally.
So my guess would be, in these books, these last two books, the Slicer would have to be Raul, our narrator, who chooses which parts of the book we get to experience for how long.
Immediately correct. That's absolutely my answer.
Yep. We're simpatico here, Philip, you and me.
This is so accurate. Yeah, I can't believe you said exactly what I was going to say. Thank you.
I mean, it's so obvious. Look, I give Dan Simmons a lot of guff in this podcast, but all props to him for taking something real and integrating into his book. I mean, maybe they switched a few words. It makes a little bit less sense, but like, he clearly put a lot of effort into it, so I can't fault him for that. So well done, Mr. Simmons. You have proven me wrong about that one thing at least.
And I'm sorry to talk about this a little more, but I have to say that I think Thomas S. Ray and Dan Simmons, besties. I would be surprised if they're not like the same person, because...
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The same person.
If this was like a nom de plume for Thomas S. Ray, who's Dan Simmons.
Sounds like he's on the same line, definitely.
You hope he is Dan Simmons. Like,
it'd be so funny.
Yeah, I was reading about Thomas S. Ray like a lot, and his research is like interesting, but it doesn't really go in depth. I read the programming language and the instructions. Super simple, and it's super short.
You should do it.
And
you should run a simulation.
I did download it and I did run it, but anyway.
Okay, great, perfect. Knew it.
I love this person.
I downloaded something called Virtual Evolved Pets, and you just generate like your own creature, which is interesting, but also super simple.
Yeah, very, very impressive deep dive, Philip. This has been the Science Podcast with Philip as we talk about Tom Ray.
Science Corner.
Apparently, Philip's new science crush, which is not unreasonable given his apparently prolific nature.
I definitely not a crush.
Hey, we'll see how much we keep of this, but I'm sure it's going to be interesting to somebody.
I hope so. Also, I wrote down one correction that the Planck time and Planck unit we laughed at in the last episode, and it's actually correct. It is a thing.
I know they exist. Planck space and Planck time are real. The point is that he uses them as like saying the void which binds is woven from Planck length and Planck time, and they're just units of measurement. It's like saying it's woven from seconds and, inches.
That doesn't make sense, but the unit of measurement does exist, so that's something.
Right, of course, yeah. I know Planck units. Thank
but
you
I didn't know
very
it was
much,
used for both space and time and energy. It could be anything. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're the smallest possible units of those various.
So it could be any units. I didn't know.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to mention.
So, well, I want to be clear. I wasn't disparaging the unit, Mr. Planck. Please don't write in. Max Planck, please don't write in. I know you're dead, but still.
From beyond the grave, Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider. No. So we were disparaging the use of them as like a physical nature. I guess I know it's metaphorical, but it's just like we're making fun of Star Wars for using the parsec incorrectly as a unit of time instead of distance originally and all that kind of stuff.
So to sum up, getting an answer for the true origin of the Shrike, I'm happy. I take it. Okay. I found something.
We'll see.
Like, this is my answer. I got an answer.
This isn't right. I'm sorry to tell you this is wrong. That's not where the Shrike comes from. Remember, the Shrike was made by the Technocore, so that's different.
Just don't talk about the Shrike anymore. You suggested something's going to come up, so just don't mention it and I'll be happy.
All right. Well, thank you for that in-depth dive. Let's see if all of that holds up as we get into part 5 of the Rise of Endymion. Woo.
Oh, no.
So do you remember the cliffhanger we ended on at the end of the last part?
Yeah. He was hopefully going to die.
I remember
going to die.
Raul rhymes with tall. Raul rhymes with tall.
You got there.
Raul rhymes with towel.
Why is his name so hard?
Raul, they had done this thing where they were going to like paraglide or whatever, hang glide to the top of this mountain area, to these mountainous areas. And they're like, be very careful because there's lots of fog, you'll get lost. And immediately Raul loses track of everyone and is about to hit a cliff. So instead of coming back to Raul being spotted on the side of a cliff, we cut to Nemes. You also remember from the end of last part, she and her siblings murdered most of the other delegates from the packs who were there, and like threw their bodies into the acid sea or whatever it was, and then like mutilated Cardinal Mustafa as like, I have a message. The elements of the court don't appreciate you working outside of the agreement of the 3 powers, or like some nonsense core message, left them alive so you could deliver a message or something.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't remember it.
Great. Well, that happened. And so we come back to Nemes and her siblings. They are trekking to the palace to see if they can track down Aenea, because they're not interested in capturing her like the Pax is. They're interested in just killing her, because whatever faction of the core they represent is murder. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Murder core. They get to the palace and the guards are like, hey, most honored guest, you can't be here. Like, we know what you're doing, but you can't be here. And then the regent, Retting, is like arguing with them, and Retting is like, yeah, I made a deal with the Pax. Obviously, I betrayed it. I'm the evil vizier, as is to be an evil vizier. And Retting's like, I made a deal with the Pax to, give you Aenea, but the conditions were that the Dalai Lama wouldn't be harmed. And Nem's like, we don't really care about the Dalai Lama. We want to kill Aenea, so just get out of her way. And Retting's like, no, for some reason. Like, even though he's already betrayed them, he's like, oh, you've told me you're not after the Dalai Lama? I'm still going to fight you for some reason, even though I literally sold Aenea out to the Pax, or like, it doesn't make any sense. So they kill them all. So they all just get murdered by Nemes and her siblings. So for funsies,
that's a thing that happens.
So is the Dalai Lama still alive?
Dalai Lama's somewhere.
I guess I didn't want to ask, but I'm so sorry. Did the Dalai Lama appear anywhere else but right now, right here?
Yeah, he was there in the previous section. They had a meeting with him. He's like an old boy.
Of course. I meant like in the previous books, or
no,
like,
of course not.
Oh no,
this is the first time he came up, right? I was like, what? Okay, never mind.
That was the first time they're on the planet with the Dalai Lama.
That's also true. Yes,
it sounds like it's a figure that we should know of. Like, it sounds important. Okay.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Buddhism isn't as influential in the hegemony or post-hegemony Pax as it was in our time, or is in our time.
When you first brought it up, I was trying to not say anything, but I was just like, what?
Look, the Dalai Lama exists and they happen to be on his planet. I think that's fine. Okay?
I was trying to accept this exact fact the whole time, and I was like, I can't take it anymore. Okay, sorry.
That's
Why are you questioning this, Philip?
You're like, I have an answer for the Shrike, but the Dalai Lama existing on his own planet, that's beyond the pale.
Exactly.
Wild. You were an enigma, Philip. You were an enigma to me. Anyway, we're back to Raul. He spends a few paragraphs, like, doing some improbable stunts and maneuvers and, like, zooming around to, like avoids crashing. And it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, in, like, old cartoons where they'd be like, how will our heroes escape from this predicament? And they goes to commercial and it comes back and, like, rewinds a little bit, like, oh, they're just fine. Like, it just, you know, it undoes whatever, like, tension it is.
Even though he just learned how to hang glide, like, 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, so he does some, like, improbable methods.
Shenanigans.
He escapes. And then once he, like, stabilizes, he sees that Aenea's above him. She had come back to find him and she was watching. She says, wow, that was fun to watch. Do it again.
Yay.
And so, like, yeah, that whole tension from the cliffhanger, that's gone. Doesn't really matter. It's like a cheap ploy. So no payoff there.
I didn't actually think he was going to die, Sam.
No, of course we didn't, but you expect to at least have, like, some drama.
No.
All right.
Have you met Mr. Simmons?
Well, I'm not, okay. I guess I didn't really expect drama, but I would hope there would be some drama. I would put it that way.
This is the man who, like, created an entire ice cave with some wraiths and stuff, and nothing really happened.
You're still salty about that? Gotta let it go. This is the man
who had the Shrike come aboard the ship that one time and then just disappear off the ship. We still don't know why the guy was on the ship.
There's a lot. You have a lot of qualms with Mr. Simmons.
He just tends to write plots that don't go anywhere.
Anyway, so they fly off. Meanwhile, the packs up in orbit are all confused because, hey, all of our delegates, their viscera are spread all across this room here. And the only one whose body we can find and is still kind of alive is Cardinal Mustafa.
Wow.
So they're like, what's happening? Was it the Shrike? Was it the natives? What happened? Also, the Technocore was supposed to have, like, sent the ship that's going to put everyone into stasis already, but it hasn't shown up yet. It's running late. Oh, no. So the Admiral up in the ship decides to try and revive the Cardinal and see if he can get some, like, accounting of what happened before they, like, let him die / kill him so they can resurrect him later.
Do they have memories later?
Yeah, they get all their memories back.
So they, like, if you murdered him and then brought him back, he'd immediately remember?
Yeah.
You think he remembered the killing as well?
Yeah, well, yeah, basically. Remember everything up until the moment you're dead.
Okay.
That's a lot of memories.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that, which is very funny. So they also notice the carnage left behind in the palace and the murder of Reddig, and they're like, oh, what's going on? So they're all very like, oh no, the Corps betrayed us. Who could have seen that coming? Kind of thing, which I think is very funny. When they get the Cardinal conscious, he's just shouting one thing over and over again. Nemes! 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 He's like shouting her name over it, or like Nemes, or maybe it's Neme, Neme, Neme. Either way, it's
definitely the last one.
Either way, it's very funny to me. So speaking of, Nemes, Nemes, and her siblings are phase shifted, which we are told consumes a staggering amount of power sent from elsewhere, and are traveling towards the temple hanging in the air. They stop to ride some of the zip lines and bridges, and then destroy them, killing everyone on the bridges and zip lines, just for fun, I guess. They just like destroying infrastructure and killing people. They don't make a lot of sense to me.
Oh, like the American government.
What?
Destroying infrastructure and killing people, sure. Sam, what do you want?
Wow, Danielle, going hard here in our goofy podcast.
I'm salty.
I can tell. Anyway, as they approach the temple, hanging in the air, the Shrike appears before them.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, Raul and the others make it to the mountains. They have some brief conversation on the ride over where Raul is still being all mopey about Aenea being married and like, get over it! They make their way into Taion, the city of peace, where a large crowd is gathered to greet Aenea. They knew she was coming because she's like, I promised I'd return in the spring, and here I am. And so they have like, she's a little speech.
Wait. So she said she'd return in the spring, but she didn't say when, but they're just like standing there waiting for her?
I think she said the day. She probably told them, I'll be back on this day or something.
Become a spring festival.
I'm just making sure they haven't been standing there this entire time.
No, Aenea gives a little speech about how she is glad to have communed with some of them before, but they'll be leaving soon by taking this massive, like, holy pilgrimage path that's like climbing a bunch of stairs, like 1,000, 7,000, 10,000 stairs up into the atmosphere to the temple of the Jade Emperor. She then does another communion for those wishing to join her, again warning everyone about the viral agent and how they can't get the cruciform if they drink it. Like, we get it already, Aenea, we get it. She still denies Raul, and also Abetic says he'll never take the communion, but we don't know why. So keep your secrets, Abetic.
Is he Jesus?
Yes, Aebetic is Jesus.
He can't drink his own blood.
You can drink your own blood, Danielle.
If it screws you up because you have time traveler blood.
Okay, that's good. It's going to send him into a time loop.
No.
You don't know.
Anything's possible.
Simmons / Ray could do anything.
Simmons Ray. I like this new headcanon of yours.
I tried to find a connection, by the way, and unfortunately, Tom Ray never mentioned Simmons or Hyperion.
He's just he's very circumspect. He's very cautious.
Yep.
All right, so we come back to Nemes and her siblings. They regard the Shrike. Nemes tells the Shrike to move out of the way or
Wait, the
be
Shrike
destroyed.
just showed up?
It's just appeared. It was there waiting for them at the temple, hanging in the air.
I love that
He
for
detected the mistake level, and he's there to...
No, you're absolutely wrong. Sorry, Philip.
them. Oh, no.
So as Nemes tells her sibling to go attack the Shrike just shifts through time and disappears. So much for that.
Just for fun.
He appears...
Just like, hey, bye.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so sick of the Shrike doing the jump scares. He's such a tease, the Shrike. So Nemes and the others head out through the temple looking for Aenea and instead find the Dalai Lama.
Yay!
After dispatching his bodyguard by throwing him out a window, Nemes holds the Dalai Lama over a cliff, demanding to know where Aenea is.
Why would he know where Aenea is?
I don't know. Why wouldn't he know? Someone's got to know.
Yeah, but it could be some dude on the street. Why does it have to be the Dalai Lama?
You think the Dalai Lama would have some insight, some connections.
8-year-old, tell me where she is.
Don't disrespect the Dalai Lama, any age. So we cut back to Raul and Aenea and Aebetic. They're getting a brown sack lunch from the monks, which is very cute.
What?
to begin their hours-long climb up the massive staircase towards the palace of the Jade Emperor. This is a staircase where the steps are like 7 meters wide and very shallow, and it's like thousands of them or something. So it's one of those kind of like holy meditative walk things.
I hate that.
Okay. It's based on a real place that's very sacred to the Buddhists, so I would not disparage them, Danielle, but good thing you're not a Buddhist, I suppose.
I've walked uphill all day before. It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is, Danielle, but it's supposed to be for spiritual enlightenment, I guess.
I guess I felt spiritually enlightened, sure.
Sure, anyway. They head up. Raul asks Aenea why they're climbing these stairs for hours instead of just like calling the ship and like, hey, pick us up. Aenea says that calling the ship will bring the packs down on them, so they can't do it until they're ready, and apparently climbing the stairs will make them ready, she thinks.
Yeah, it'll spiritually enlighten them. Obviously.
She then tells Raul that she doesn't know what they'll find up there at the summit. She glimpses things, dreams them again and again, but in different ways, and she doesn't like to talk about it until she knows which reality is coming to pass. Which I think is kind of a cop-out, because she could still be like, hey guys, here are some options of things that can happen. You don't have to be like, this is what's going to be like, I just have a few ideas, some guesses, but she's like, no, instead of giving you some hints, I'll just say nothing at all until I'm 100% sure. Which is nonsense.
Of course.
So Raul asks why she won't let him take communion, and Aenea says that when someone first takes it, they become preoccupied with their transformation, being able to interact with the void which binds, and she needs his full attention right now, needs his help. And Raul accepts this. So finally, we get an answer. Why she couldn't have told him that 7 chapters ago, I don't know, because it's a very simple and reasonable explanation, and yet, we couldn't figure it out until here. Later, Raul asked that if she was a messiah, she's not the messiah, but if she was a messiah, what would her message be? And Aenea says she doesn't really know, but she has given her message a lot of thought over her lifetime, and finally pared it down to just 2 words.
What?
Guess those 2 words.
What?
For her message. Her messianic message.
Definitely love you.
Nope. Too trite. Danielle, what do you think your 2-word messianic message would be?
I don't know the answer to this.
Just give me 2 words you think would be a good message.
Be nice.
That's a great message. Not this one. I was afraid you were going to say be best, but...
Based on the philosophy of the Shrike, no errors.
No errors. That's a good one. I like that one. 0 tolerance.
Yes, exactly.
That would
like
cause
that,
an entire issue of type A personalities who need therapy.
No. Her 2-word message is choose again.
That's even worse. What?
Sure.
Choose again. So she's like, religion, choose again. Political systems, choose again. and so on and so
Basically,
forth.
you're wrong, aka zero tolerance, so we were correct.
No. More like, guys, don't get complacent. Keep striving with new ideas. Keep evolving.
Yeah.
Don't just stick with the first thing. Choose again. Keep choosing.
But what if you get to the correct answer and you're still choosing?
I think the idea is there is no correct answer, Danielle. Everything is a journey. There's no destination. It's a continuous journey.
You have to keep evolving.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not untrue,
changing.
but some things are more correct than others.
Yeah, but doesn't mean you should just stop when you get like, it's good enough. I'm giving up here. I'm not saying for reality, but in the context of this book. And then she says, as Philip so astutely picked up, the idea is all about evolution, not standing still. It's time to choose again. This starts a very long conversation on evolutionary biology and her pushing back against the notion from St. Teller that evolution has a direction, that evolution has a purpose, or a goal per se, and that the only purpose of evolution is creating more life. And while the core has tried to repress human evolutionary advancements and study to keep being a parasite, and has also repressed the science and the hegemony and the Pax, and of course the church is keeping people from diversifying and repressing that same kind of evolutionary idea about diversifying humanity. So it's all sort of interwoven into that. And so that's what this is really all about. It's about whether humans need to stagnate so the core can continue to be a parasite or fit some old definition of what is humanity, or whether humans can evolve and diversify into a new era, basically.
This is so similar to the scientific paper I just read. This is like the same
no kidding.
which, by the way, they described the biggest issue was it always stagnated. After evolving a bunch, the parasitic relationships and all these code pieces, they always kind of got stuck in the same cycles. And they tried to make it more open so they would evolve more, but that was the biggest challenge.
So it feels like Mr. Simmons read a paper, is like, I can make a book out of that. Which, props to him for doing so.
Why does she decline to be a messiah?
It's like she doesn't want to be religion. She wants to be something that isn't faith-based, but more about compassion, more about, looking at fundamental forces of the universe, like love as being a fundamental force of the universe, not like belief or faith. And the Messiah figure is about faith. Yes, it is. But that's religion for you, right? I mean, 9% of religion is like dogma and semantics and like picking apart words. So I think that's fair.
Because she's pretty much a non-religious Messiah.
Right. I would not argue that. But again, I think that arguing about semantics and religion is kind of the whole thing. So,
it's true.
I can't really be upset about it. So, Aenea does know from her womb-based learning that evolution has some tendencies, mostly towards more life, finding niches to fill, which is treated as like a big revelation, like, oh, I'm so smart because in the womb I learned that evolution needs niches to fill. I'm like, this is all pretty basic evolutionary theory. It feels very much like the freshman philosophy major took their first evolutionary biology class and suddenly oh, I know everything about evolution. Does nobody realize that evolution is geared towards filling niches and making more life? You're like, yes, that's like the whole idea. It's like everyone knows that. Anyway, it's very funny. And she's like, eventually life will fill the whole universe. Like, it will make a green galaxy if left to its own devices. Humans, though, haven't diversified much, at least not like most species. And as we talked about previously, humanity has stagnated in the hegemony, stagnated in the Pax, and that extends to cultural stagnation as well as biological stagnation. So that's what she's fighting against.
Yeah.
Also, of course, she says they were on the verge of diversifying 1,000 years ago when the core took that away from them. Or most of them. Raul asks what she means by most of them, and Aenea just says, oh, you'll see later. Of course. So... Even now, we can't get a straight answer.
No spoilers.
When we get to the top of the mountain, they encounter a massive Swiss Guard Marine pointing a gun at them. Bum, 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 they're caught. But Aenea recognizes him as Gregorius. And then he's all like, oh, you're her. You're the guy Desoya and I have been looking for. And he relays to them that he and a few others survived the attack of the Pax on their ship.
Obviously.
Yeah, duh. But Father Desoya, while alive, is very badly hurt and dying. And since he doesn't want to be resurrected as an imbecile, if he doesn't get to like a resurrection crest or be resurrected by the Pax with their technology, if the Cruciform just does it on its own, he will be rendered like the Bakura. He's made Sergeant Gregorius promise to like annihilate his body, atomize it, so he can never come back.
So there's still cruciforms out there that make them stupid over time?
So if you're not resurrected by the church in the church's official resurrection creches with their technology provided by the core, the cruciform by itself cannot resurrect you fully. It can only resurrect your body like the Bakura can. You need the core technology to get your mind and your memories and all your personality back.
Did we figure out how they put the two together yet?
Nope.
I don't remember.
Not yet.
Do they use special cruciforms? Do they put them in
Nope.
a tube and like
Nope.
shoot them? Do they put put syringe
Danielle,
stuff into
Danielle,
their body
we will get
while
to
they
it.
cruciform?
No.
Does it work?
Danielle, we will get to it. Don't worry. Well, maybe worry a little bit.
Where are these cruciforms coming that aren't being used by the church?
No, they're all being used by the church. The idea is if you just like let the cruciform do its thing like it does on the Bakura, where if you just leave a body alone, it'll eventually resurrect with the cruciform.
So even if you're resurrected by the church in the past, if you're just like somewhere else where the church can't help you resurrect,
Yes.
you will.
Yes, you will get the imperfect resurrection. You need the resurrection creches and their technology to have
What
the
if
perfect
you like
resurrection.
accidentally died in the jungle or something and couldn't get back to a church sanctified space to be What kind of nonsense resurrection is this where you have
Look.
to like appear and be like, excuse me, I'm about to die. Can you please resurrect me correctly?
Look, I don't know, and again, with the Bakura, it took many generations of resurrections for them to eventually wear out, to have the copies be bad. So I'm not so sure that him resurrecting once with the cruciform without the church's help would make him immediately, like, at the end stage Bakura level. But that's what he says, and I can only go by what's in the book, Danielle.
I thought that once you got the cruciform, if it was like a church-sponsored cruciform,
No.
then you were good to go. Like, what if you're nowhere near a church? What kind of stupid afterlife promise is that where it's like conditional to you being near a church?
So you misunderstood, because the whole point is that the cruciform doesn't work on its own. The church controls the cruciform because they control the resurrection process. So if you're not part of the church, even if you get a cruciform, you can't leave the church like, haha, I've got it, suckers, I'm out, because they still control the technology that lets the cruciform work correctly. So they have a monopoly. That's how they maintain their power. Because if it was just, hey, we got this cruciform and now you don't need us anymore, they wouldn't have nearly as much power.
So if you died from whatever you died of, and then can you get illnesses when you have a cruciform?
Probably, sure.
Okay, so let's pretend you died of cancer or something. It's like somebody would, like, you die. Are you I have a question.
You just plan it.
You
just plan your death. Every
Yeah,
other
you
Sunday.
gotta get past
Just line
this.
up.
You
Line up
gotta
at
get
the
past
church.
this.
No, it opened up a lot of questions.
Everything makes sense except for the one answer, which is why it suddenly goes from 0 to Bakura. Like, that's the part that I don't
That
get.
is
Okay,
nonsense
none
again,
of the
yes.
other stuff makes sense, Sam. I disagree full-heartedly.
It makes sense that, like, the cruciform by itself resurrects you imperfectly like the Bakura happened. And the church has a special process where, in conjunction with the cruciform, they can make the process non-destructive, right?
Okay, but so you pretend you died, you lived alone in a house, you died of cancer in your house, nobody knows you're dead. You're just gonna
Right.
how long does it take to turn
3 days.
3 days? So somebody would have to find you in the first 3 days in order to like.
So this is the part
Get
that
you to
I
the
don't get.
church?
It's a time thing. So it's the same thing. It's like, if you just resurrected like the Bakura did, where after 3 days you come back and you're a little bit worse off, and if it happened like 100 or 200 times, you would eventually become worn out.
Mm-hmm.
But what this is saying is, after one time you're worn out. Which
Yeah,
that's the part that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that
Everything
also
else-
doesn't make sense, but neither does Russ. Anyway, continue.
The other
on,
part
Sam.
makes sense, Danielle. You're wrong. I'm sorry.
It
But this
doesn't.
part doesn't. Yes, it does. It's perfectly reasonable to say they have a way to alter the resurrection process so it's better.
That I totally understand. The part I don't understand is when people die outside of like someone else who can get them to the church setting to be able to be resurrected.
Right.
Now they're just going to
That's the part
resurrect
that's the same
incorrectly.
thing.
Yeah.
That's the same thing I'm saying, Danielle, which is why does it go from works perfect? Like the first time, it should be a gradual degrade. If you never go to the church to get resurrected and you're constantly
that
resurrected on
was
your own,
It should be
you eventually
gradual.
do-
I agree.
It was in
That's the part that doesn't make
explained,
sense.
And now it's just dismissed. So yeah.
Yes,
another
exactly
one of
right.
those.
Like, Philip, you understand it, right? You
No,
understand.
you guys are saying the same thing. You just
Yes,
different
thank you.
perspective. It
No,
doesn't
I
make sense.
understand that it's the same thing. There's two different parts to that. One is that you apparently would never you couldn't get to the church and get resurrected. And one is that apparently now they're saying that you can like turn stupid with one resurrection.
Yeah, that's,
Well, that's
the
the only
part that
part
doesn't
that's a
make sense
problem.
at all. Exactly. Yes.
Because if you died and you couldn't get to the church and you're resurrected, you're like, well, that was unfortunate. I guess I'll be more careful next time. Get like a life alert or whatever so that people know if I
Life
die and
alert.
leave me to the hospital. But You know, if it was one and done, that's
You're like,
a big difference.
I'm dying. Come get me.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you can have, like, a heart monitor on people and see if they die.
It just changed the whole world setting for me. That's all I'm saying. Continue on.
I don't think it changes that much. I think that was...
It did.
Okay, well, I can't be responsible for your misconceptions.
You didn't explain it well.
I think I explained it well enough in the beginning. I think you don't remember it well is a problem, Danielle.
Listeners who pay more attention than I do, tell me if Sam explained in detail how this process works with
that
the church.
The church had found a new way of resurrecting people and they controlled it, the process.
Yeah, but that did not correlate to them having to be in the church when they die or within the first 3 days.
Not in a church, but it had to be like at a hospital or in a church or a place to crash.
Setting they
can all have crashes in they can have resurrection crashes in their houses that they sleep in. It'd be fine.
Maybe it's a manipulation of the technocore and the church, and they redesigned the cruciform in secret. They didn't tell anybody, and that's what changed the rules. And now they have to control people more because they've done that.
That makes it so much more controlling. It was already controlling, but now it's like double.
Well, that's the point, because like if you didn't need the church to resurrect yourself perfectly, like once you got the cruciform in and you were good to go, people wouldn't. The church would have no power over people once they got the cruciform.
Yeah,
like, you can't
I get
kill
that.
me.
I hadn't really thought that through, and it's so much more horrifying now. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
All right,
okay, well,
carry on.
I'm glad we got to the point where it makes more sense, even if it made less sense to get here, and parts of it still make less sense.
Still mad about it.
Yeah, fine. You can be mad. So, anyway, Aenea's like, great, can we go see Father de Soya? And they're off they go. Part 3 of the book. We enter part 3. We're at part 3 now.
Good job.
Also, I would not have put part 3 here. I'll talk about that later, because it doesn't make any sense to me that they have part 3 at this particular juncture. We cut to Hyperion, where Martin Salinas is being woken up for cryogenic fugue. Everyone's favorite poet is back, guys!
Yay! I didn't think he was going to come back.
He's grumpy, swears a lot, and asks if they have any news about Aenea and Raul, which they don't, because they're in the backwater of Hyperion, and, like, news doesn't travel very far, I guess. They have rumors of unrest in the Pax, and a plague that Martin knows is Aenea's teachings. Martin again vows he'll see Aenea again before he dies, and will then know how to finish his cantos once he knows how the story ends.
Why did they wake him up again?
Because they have to wake him up every few years, otherwise you can't stay in cryogenic feud forever, because it's just bad for you. So most of this chapter is just everyone re-summarizing everything from the previous chapters. Instead of doing like that literary cutout device where it's like, the androids brought Martin up to speed on what had happened, and you like a little fade over kind of thing, he insists on actually going through and showing you those conversations every time.
Oh my god. Does he recite any more poetry?
No poetry in this part. I skipped the poetry already. Don't worry about it. It's not Keats poetry. I care less about it.
I'm really disappointed that you just dropped off with all the Keats poetry.
Me too. I wanted more Keats, but now it's all different kinds of stuff.
I was sure that was going to be the ending. Like, Keats gonna come back and...
Yeah, I appreciate him broadening out his
I don't.
wealth. Okay, well, fine. Great.
He was like really hammering home the Keats. It feels like he just was like, screw it. Too much effort.
Yeah,
I've already used all the Keats poems.
I guess it's not Keats all the way down.
Yeah, it makes me sad. If you're going to stick to a theme, you might as well use it through your last book.
I'm disappointed.
All right, well, that's fair. All right, so we're back with the Soya. Aenea speaks to him, and again, this is part 3, so apparently part 3 is just normal, like there's no time difference, nothing happens. It's just, hey, we're back to it. Again, I have a better place for part 3 later. We're back with the Soya. Aenea speaks to him. First, the Soya says that he has a gift for Raul, something personal of his that the church let the Soya keep when he found it on Marinfinitis for some reason. Raul sees the Soya as badly burned and mangled, and that he is in a tremendous pain from like half his face missing, and he's like clearly dying and in a tremendous amount of pain, but pushing through it. And Raul was like, oh, I was totally incapacitated by a kidney stone. Boy, this does not look good for me. And it's kind of ashamed of himself. Like, yeah, Raul, yeah, you feel that. You feel that shame. And again, not to belittle kidney stones. They're very painful. But like, he's supposed to be this big hero of the book. And he's like, man, Desaya's so much cooler than I am.
Yeah,
like,
Desaya is cooler than him.
I know. I was like, every character is so cool. Like, well, it's such a weird choice to make Raul the least, like, the most loseriest character of all the cool characters you have in your book. It's so weird. But constantly, like, insist that he's super cool, guys. I promise. So Aenea says that Desoya doesn't have to die, and she's not talking about resurrection with the cruciform. They have an autosurgeon on the ship. If they get him into the autosurgeon, they can save him. But the only caveat is he can't have the cruciform, because the autosurgeon, was pre-cruciform in the hegemony, and wouldn't know how to operate on him or like do any surgery with the cruciform there, and the cruciform would get in the way. So she's like, if you agree, I will give you this communion, and it will remove the cruciform from you within 24 hours, but that's it. You can never have it again. You're no longer immortal. Are you okay with that? And Desoya's like, yes, sign me up.
I imagine that she's just gonna call DJ and be like, okay, communion time, rip it out.
No.
The end.
She's not trying to... DJ Shrike can only murder the cruciform out of you. She's trying to save his life somehow.
They're two sides of the same coin.
She's never mentioned she could do that until now, so I imagine the only way to do that is the Shrike.
No, she's been pretty clear that if you take her communion, it will remove the cruciform from you.
Oh,
You
I
can never
thought
get
she
the
meant
cruciform.
like you're not supposed to accept it at all, not that she can remove it.
Like physically, it's a virus that like repels the parasite from your body.
Does
like,
it like shrivel up and fall off?
I don't know. We don't get to figure
I
that
thought
out.
that once
That
you got it,
makes
you're
me
out.
sad.
Like it's too late for you. I didn't know it like works like that.
Yeah. Once if you have it, if you get it, it will,
I didn't get
you'll
that
be
part.
converted.
Okay, that changes my view of the.
Wow,
okay.
we're having so many revelations in this episode, guys. Look, I will
There's
admit.
a lot of stuff.
Yes. So I will admit, maybe I gloss over some things in previous chapters, or maybe we went past them pretty quickly. But to be fair, Danielle was just saying, there is a lot in these books,
Yes.
and a lot of it contradicts itself. So it's hard to know what's relevant and what isn't.
Please
I
don't
want to
change
know
that.
how the cruciforms come off.
I want to know that too. Maybe we'll find out someday. It's not in this episode.
You think they like all shrivel up and then you have to pull it off and then all the little strings like slide out of your
I think
like
it
when
like
you're like removing a drain tube from somebody's organs, you can like kind of
or
feel it.
tapeworm.
Ew.
no. I think it's more that all the little nodules get like dissolved by the virus and it just peels off your chest.
Sweat it out.
Plump.
Yeah. Anyway, so Desoya is like, yes, I'm on board. She puts a little bit of her blood in a cup of water and gives it to Desoya. And then also the other Swiss guards, Gregorius takes it and gives it to the other companions because they're all like, we followed Desoya this far. We'll keep following him. They're all on board. They're like, we're done with this.
Are we going to find out that the blood is full of some nanites or some kind of
We talked about it's full of
robots?
a bioengineered virus. Yeah.
Yeah, but are we going to find out the virus is sort of like artificial, robotic, like actual...
I mean, it is kind of. It's an artificial, it's made by the Technocore.
Yeah, I would just like to say it's not biological, it's like actual
I would say it's
robots.
more like Borg nano
Yeah.
bots or whatever they're called.
And that's why she can control it so well.
Maybe. We'll find out.
Oh no.
Will we?
No. Maybe? I don't know. So anyway, everyone takes communion except, of course, Raul and Aebetic. So Aenea then tells Raul to call the ship. It's time to get out of there. They get Desoya inside and put him and the other crew into the dock in the box, which puts them in suspended animation until the cruciform, is removed from their bodies in 24 hours. There's a whole mess of like 40 warships headed towards them, and Aenea tells the ship to fly back to the temple hanging in the air, but to keep low beneath the clouds, because apparently clouds will protect them from advanced
Perfect
sensors.
disguise.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Philip got it. So as they fly over, Raul opens up the gift from Desoya. It's a tube, and as he pulls it out, he unrolls. Guess what it is? Guess what he unrolls?
Wait, who pulls out what out of what?
Okay, so Raul got a gift. Phil, you gotta pay attention.
That's what she says.
Nope. Desoya had a gift for Raul. It's a tube.
Okay.
He opens up the tube and pulls out something and rolls it. What is it? What is the gift that Desoya had for him?
It's like a Playboy shot of the strike.
Yes, that's exactly. It's a pin up. A strike pin up. A strike up. Try again.
Of Aenea.
No, even worse. How does the priest have that, Danielle? That's even worse.
But so much funnier.
It's definitely not a pinup of Aenea. One more guess. Philip, any ideas?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything.
You're afraid what Danielle's going to say, aren't you? Because she's so gross.
I'm waiting for it. Yeah, you've got better ideas.
Nope, that was. I'm not going to top that. That was great. That's exactly what it is.
No, unfortunately, it's just the hawking mat. It's the freaking hawking mat. It's back, baby! I thought you would get it. I thought you would have figured that one out, but,
We got sidetracked by my pinup joke. I'm sorry.
The hawking mat, it works! Huzzah! And somehow the church was like, oh yeah, just so you can just keep that. We're not going to care about this relic, this heretical relic. Weird. Aenea is delighted by this gift, saying she never foresaw this in all her dreams about this time. I guess she's not that good. So they approach the field near the temple and find almost everyone from the temple had evacuated there and load them up onto the ship, but the Dalai Lama, Rachel, and the Thunderbolt Sow are all missing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So they fly to the temple to find them. They arrive just in time to see the Dalai Lama's bodyguard be thrown out the window and to see Nemes come out holding the Dalai Lama by the throat, like dangling him over the edge of the cliff.
8-year-old, tell me!
Well, to be fair, it worked because here they are. So Aenea invites Raul to come outside with her. As they take the ship's balcony out, Aenea tells Nemes she'll come down if she lets the Dalai Lama go. And Nemes is like, okay, and like throws the Dalai Lama aside, and Aenea orders Rachel to get her.
I thought she was gonna like just drop him out the window.
No, she does. Like, so what, God, I skipped this because it goes on, but first, when Aenea's like, let him go, Nem's like, sure thing, like drops him and then catches him again, like, be careful what you wish for.
He's so good.
And Aenea's just like, let him go. And she's like, okay, fine, and throws him aside. Like, what was the point of that? Anyway.
Because it's funny.
Yeah, so Nemes got a good sense of humor. You gotta give her props for that.
That makes me like her more, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. She's very you, Danielle, if you were a murderous killing machine.
Yeah. How do you know I'm not?
No offense, but physically, you're not very imposing.
That's how I get away with it, Sam.
Oh, okay. Sneaky,
Also,
sneaky.
I can't kill a spider, but sure, I'm out there murdering people.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think I respect spiders more in general.
It's true.
Anyway, Nemes, like I said, tosses the Dalai Lama aside, and he orders Rachel to get the Thunderbolt's Sow and get the Dalai Lama on board the ship, and Aenea and Raul descend onto the wooden platform just as the strike appears. They all face off against Nemes and her siblings.
Dun dun dun.
Nemes orders her siblings to take out the Shrike, and then Aenea puts a hand on Raul's back.
Wait, so Nemes, who got like totally blasted by the Shrike that one time, is like, you guys do it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, she got totally blasted once, and then one of the other siblings got totally murdered by the Shrike. So
that's why she's sending her siblings in.
Yeah, exactly. Let them do it first. But Aenea puts a hand on Raul's back, which allows them both to observe like the phase-shifted fast time to see the Shrike fight between the two core entities. Aenea says to Raul when this happens, we cannot phase shift with them or use it to fight them. It is an abuse of the energy of the void which binds. But I can help us watch this. What? What is this a thing? So this is why, like, things should keep happening, and maybe they were mentioned, like, was this a thing she could do, just, like, magically phase shift them, but not phase shift them because that's an abuse? She's like, it feels like she's like, it's a democratic norm that I don't phase shift to fight these people, so I'm not going to. Wild stuff. Anyway, the Shrike fights the Nemes siblings and eventually gets them into, like, a bear hug, and they all go tumbling off the edge into the abyss. So, bye-bye, Shrike. That was a very short fight for him.
He'll be fine. Probably.
All thoughts on how dismissively the Shrike is used very momentarily, because I have so much to say about the next fight that's coming up.
Is he, like, run by somebody? Does he run himself? Like, he just seems to pop in and out, like, when people need him.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Maybe. So, Nemes drops out of fast time and faces Aenea, saying, it's time to finish this. She tries to phase shift, but can't. Aenea says, I can't stop you from phase shifting, but others can, and have. And like, okay. that could have been useful so many times. And Nemes responds, those who created me will attend to that in a second, but I don't wish to wait that long. I do not need to shift up to kill you. So like, cool, guys. Nemes is nerfed by Simmons. Simmons is like nerfing Nemes for this whole fight just because what happens next is Nemes starts to transform, her mouth growing these big rows of teeth, and then her fingers grow like into claws, razor sharp claws, and she slices open one of her forearms, revealing a sharp metal endoskeleton. And that's when Raul like steps between Nemes and Aenea, like puts his dukes up, ready to box Nemes.
The giant shape-shifting being from another planet.
Yeah, the shape-shifting murder monster. Ronald's like, yeah, I can rope-a-dope this. I got this. This is great. And he's like, thinking to himself, oh, this is stupid, but he does it. And he starts thinking, this is a chess match more than a fight. Nemes sacrificed her two strongest pieces to take our knight off the board. And so it's up to me, the pawn, to fight this queen to protect humanity's queen. I'm like, Raul. It is not a chess match. She's a super powerful robot construct murder machine. It's a fight. Also, if it was a chess match, you would lose. I'm sorry.
Are we pretending like Raul actually knows how to do chess?
Right. Now, to be fair,
you cannot convince me.
To be fair, he does talk about playing chess a lot in the first book about he used to play chess and is quite good at it.
No, I don't care if he thinks that he can play chess. I don't believe that he knows how to play chess.
Right, okay, fair.
Have you met the man?
Yeah, again, this is why I'm like, well, man, it's not chess, and if it was chess, you would lose still, so I don't know what you're doing. I have so much thoughts about this fight. I'm going to get through the fight, and then I'm going to have words.
Is this the first time she's shape-shifted? Like, that's new, right?
New.
Yep. Everything's new, Danielle. Things are just happening.
She could have done this many times. She probably made, like, during the fight with the Shrike that one time.
I think, like, and Raul thinks about this, like, her main trick is the phase shifting. Like, that's her crutch. That's what she relies on, the phase shift, where her enemies are basically frozen in time and defenseless, so she's not actually used to fighting people on, quote-unquote, equal footing, so to speak.
She should have known better with the Shrike.
She should have, I agree. But the Shrike's gone, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, so there's this big fight scene between Raul and Nemes, where Raul gets, like, slashed up, but manages to, like, land all these punches on Nemes,
No.
like... Yep, and like smashes up her nose, like her nose gets flattened and bleeding, and like smashes up her ears and like pummels her chest and stomach and her core, and she's like bleeding, but like she feels no pain, so it doesn't really affect her that much. But like he appears to like be holding his own against Nemes. I'm like, no, nonsense.
What is he even wearing? Is he like shorts and PJs?
Yeah, and I'm like, this is so awful. Simmons had to sideline the Shrike. Like, the reason the Shrike went over the cliff there is because Simmons was like, I need to make Raul the big hero. He's got to have a big hero moment where he wins a fight to protect Aenea, you know? And so, if the Shrike is there, I was going to be like, why is the Shrike doing this? The Shrike's obviously going to win. So he's like, okay, get the Shrike out of there by having it fall off the cliff with the two other things. Great. Also, if Nemes could phase shift, Raul wouldn't stand a chance. And we can't have that. So I'm going to take away the phase shifting ability by having Aenea magically say, oh, someone else did it for me. Just don't question it. Someone else magically cut off her phase shift powers, so she can't use them in this fight. And now Raul is able to hold his own because I've completely handicapped or like cut the Achilles tendon of all my coolest characters and got them off out of the way. So Raul can have his hero moment.
Give Raul some kind of magical weapon device. All people have these things all the time. Why wouldn't he just pull out something out of his pocket that would do all these things? Why doesn't he have a weapon?
My thought is, Raul is so unbelievably, laughably incompetent that even if he got, like, some magic thing, he'd be like, I don't know how to use the phase shift suit or whatever. Like, it wouldn't work. And so the only way to make this even remotely plausible, even in his own mind for Simmons, is to completely handicap the enemies to give Raul, like, even the barest chance.
I can't even believe that would suffice because she's like a fighting machine. That is her whole purpose. Like, can you, that'd be like an average person going up against somebody who does MMA or
the
something.
Terminator.
Yeah,
the Terminator.
You're never gonna win. I don't care how handicapped that person is in that fight.
Imagine young John Connor from Terminator 2. Fighting the liquid metal Terminator, the T-1000, without Arnold Schwarzenegger there to help.
By punching him with their face.
You're not going to win. You're not going to land a punch.
Even if you did, she's made of metal. Like, he's like, oh, my hand hurt from punching her because her skull is made of metal. And it's like, yeah, what do you think? Like, you may be able to tear her, like, artificial skin and make her look like she's bleeding, but it's not any actual substantial damage. It's actually hurting her in any way.
Absolute nonsense obscene.
She should have killed him in one blow. Yep. It's so bad. But, like, this is so contrived to give Raul this hero moment because, oh boy.
Oh no.
This could have been this amazing fight with the Shrike and Aenea, and sure, even Raul, like, working together in, like, fast time to overpower and outwit Nemes and the others. But nope, it's just Raul punching and wrestling with Nemes and somehow not being gutted immediately.
The only thing you can say about this fight is the phrase that we should all remember. Choose again.
Choose again. That's a good point. Yes. This fight should have been chosen again. So at some point while in this fight, he looks over at Aenea and she's like, this is your moment, Raul, and tells him that. I'm like, okay, great. So perfect.
It's the moment to die.
Yeah, right? Apparently this is all like, again, it's so obviously like Raul is so useless that we're like 75% of the way through the book now, and he's done nothing useful. So Simmons is like trying to figure out some way to make him seem like a hero, and this is the way he's decided to do it. It's hilarious. I love it so much. So Raul is punching Nemes a lot until the point where like she goes to like stab him with her claw fingers and gets him wedged in the wood because he dodges out of the way. And as she's like trying to pull her claws out of the planks in the floor there. Raul tells the ship to land on the platform, which it does, causes the whole platform to collapse. And Nemes falls, manages to grab onto the cliff, and Raul falls, but he was expecting this, so he managed to scramble over just before the platform collapsed and carabiner clip himself into the pitons in the wall that they used to climb around and build the platform. So all of that rock climbing jargon, it came back, baby.
Paid off. From all the things that could have paid off, this is the one.
Yep,
the rock climbing jargon. Yep.
4 books. This is the thing.
This is it. So he's safety clipped by the carabiner to the side of the wall. Nemes manages to climb up to the platform where Aenea is, and so Raul swings himself out on a safety rope to grab her with his legs, wrap them around her and pull her back over the abyss and let her go. She falls into the abyss. Bye-bye, Nemes.
That's the only realistic part of this entire fight.
Yep, pretty much. And then his rope breaks, and he's falling, he manages to grab on, and then Aenea free climbs out to him, clips on another safety rope, there are safety ropes everywhere apparently, and grabs him, and the ship comes and picks them both up, and they all get back in the ship. Hey, they won!
For the moment.
So that was a fight that I think was monumentally disappointing to me for many reasons.
I don't remember a actually satisfying fight with the Shrike, ever.
Yes. When Assad was fighting
fun.
with
Manita
Menez.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that was so cool because he had his suit powers and he wasn't sure who his enemy was, and he was just going by his warrior instinct. Raw's none of that. None of that charisma. Assad has charisma over Raul. So Raul was badly injured, and Rachel attends to him.
Sad.
Yeah, right.
Maybe
because
he'll die.
If only.
Every time.
Rachel attends to him because apparently she has medical training. Aenea tells the ship to head up and out, and she'll provide the coordinates for him to get away. Raul's last thought as he fades into unconsciousness is that he has no idea how they'll escape the packs this time. Unfortunately, since we follow Raul, we don't get to see this friend escape either. He just blacks out, and they're okay, I guess they escaped. This is the problem with following Raul around, is we never get to see the cool stuff.
He is the slicer.
Yep. Also, this is the place where I would have put the part 3 break, is, them fleeing the planet after defeating Nemes. This would be okay, part 3 is now.
Yeah, 100%.
But apparently, no, it had to be earlier for some reason. Again, editor.
He does not have one.
Nope. So we cut to Raul waking up. He's in 0G in a massive structure. He's greeted by Rachel, who confirms that the autosurgeon saved him, though she did some surgery herself, because apparently she's also a surgeon. I'm learning all kinds of things about Rachel.
She's lived a very long time.
Twice. 3 times, maybe. We might lose track of how many lives Rachel's lived. He's been out for 2 weeks. So, the thrilling escape. How'd they escape? The ship escaped to this star system that Desoy and his crew knew about. How did they do it? Aenea directed the ship to a particular point in space, an arbitrary point, and the ship just farcasted there. It vanished. It poofed over here. No farcaster portal necessary. It just magically farcasted out of there.
How?
Doesn't matter. It just did. It just did. It magically did.
Just did.
The lions and tigers and bears did it. I don't know.
Hey, Philip, can the lions, tigers, bears do anything?
Absolutely. They just... I think that's a good answer.
He's an expert now.
Apparently, the lions, tigers, and bears can, strip Nemes of her powers, can forecast anything from anywhere, can do stuff, but they just don't. They see all this trouble, and they're we'll only do this on occasion, or whatever. What is going on here?
We're not going to fix any of the problems that are surrounding us and affecting us.
Yeah, this is the problem with having this omnipotent, all-powerful force. The question of, the Q question in Star Trek. If I can do anything, why doesn't it just, solve all the problems? The answer in Star Trek is that Q's a jerk. No one likes him. That's why he doesn't solve all the problems. In this book, I'm guessing it's because they're just lazy? I don't know.
They don't want to do
anything.
Just like watching. That's it.
I guess. Who knows? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Below them to do anything.
It also provides the problem, which we'll get to in a moment, of this book where everything, all the cool stuff happens off screen, so to speak. The book is divided into the plot action and the plot explanations, the explanation of what's happening. And explanations all come through these info dumps with Aenea explaining things to Raul or to groups as Raul listens. And I think that's because we're following Raul around to keep in the mystery, so we don't know everything, because Aenea is omniscient. She knows everything already. She knows all of this stuff. And so if we were following her around, there wouldn't be any mystery here. So Simmons has to make sure that Raul and Aenea don't talk about anything. And she has to be oh, mysterious. I can't tell you. I'll tell you later. I can't tell you. I'll tell you later. so that we keep the mystery alive. Like, there's nothing to discovered or learned through plot actions. It's all info dumped by Aenea, which is the problem of having an omniscient character in your book as well.
Feels like you could do that more organically, though.
You'd think. I don't know. It just seems very interesting to me. Like, I think it's an interesting problem. Like, how do you handle having a character that knows everything? How do you maintain surprise? And I think that's an interesting problem. I'm not sure I have a solution. I'm not sure this is a good solution.
Okay, but we know that Raul, when he had the chance to ask any questions,
yes,
flat out was like, who else have you dated? So I think
that's a very good point.
Right. I think we could have held with, he just never asked the questions. Yeah. She never told him unless it was plot relevant. And then she could like give a little piece to him because he doesn't seem to care outside of that.
His perspective, he doesn't care.
It's true. He only has one goal, and that's Aenea, pretty much. Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, it's really weird. Again, I think it's an interesting literary problem. I'm not sure I could have done better. Back to where we left off, where they just magic them out of there. Raul wants to know, like, where is here exactly? So Rachel has the walls of the massive pod they're in go transparent. Raul is agog with what he sees outside. They're in a massive lattice of, like, tree, but like it's a spherical interwoven branches of tree that surrounds the system star like a plant-based Dyson sphere.
What?
And yeah, this is cool. Like this is the sci-fi nonsense I like. We're into like the giant, organic Dyson sphere. Like, sign me up. Why are we waiting until 80% of the way through the book to get to this stuff, guy? Come on. It's really cool. Rachel confirms this was built by the Ousters and the Templars and is like powered by the Ergs. Remember the Ergs?
The little things that were in the boxes or whatever, right?
Yeah, there was the power of the tree ship containment fields. Yay, Danielle, 10 points.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, I know, you should be.
Yeah, you remember that, but you couldn't remember the part we did last time. Always amazing to me.
I don't tell you, I paid more attention in the first book than I did the others.
To be fair, the first book had more to pay attention to. So this whole system is alive, but it's a construct, a minded thing, Rachel says. Comets weave in and out of the lattice, providing water for the plants, which they harvest from the Oort cloud. And I think, again, such cool stuff. Like, this is like the weird sci-fi. Like, this is like Ring World, the Niven Ring. You have the Dyson sphere made of plant matter, like an organic. That's cool. So we finally got to some parts. I'm like, yeah, made it worth it, kind of. Well, if you skimmed it. So they're in a pod tailored for medical duty. The pod grew and manufactured the medicines Raul needed. And Raul eventually turns to Rachel and says, we haven't really talked much. And Rachel's like, you don't like me. And Raul's like, no, well, it's more that I was jealous of all the time you spent with Aenea when I wasn't around. And, I thought that maybe you guys were lovers, and I was jealous about that. Like, were you lovers? And Rachel's like, no, we weren't lovers.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No, we totally were.
I mean, no, because she's like, no, we weren't lovers, because we were both destined to love other people. I was destined to love Cassad as Monita, and she was destined to love you. Or like, I will love Cassad, or have loved Cassad. She's like, it's very complicated. Which it is, because time travel. And so Raul's like, okay, sure.
He's such a weenie.
Yeah, I know. He's like, you can't let this go. You can't, how dare she have another, even if they were lovers, who cares? Like, who cares if they were lovers? Like, get over it, dude. She loves you. You love her. It doesn't matter if she was, had a fling with Rachel at some point. Like, get over it, buddy. But no, he can't let it go because, Rachel says Aenea has only ever spoken of loving you, but Raul admits that Aenea told him about the marriage and asked Rachel if she knew the guy or where Aenea was during that 2-year absence or 1 year, 11 months, whatever, that she was, off marrying this guy and getting knocked up. But Rachel says she hadn't met him when Aenea went away, and she went off alone until she, quote, had to return. She had taken every possible minute that she could without jeopardizing the mission, right? And so Raul asks if Rachel knew why Aenea chose that guy to father her child, and Rachel says she does, but that's between him and Aenea, like between Raul and Aenea to figure their stuff out. Like, she won't tell him, but Aenea will tell him when it's time to do so. And if Raul's upset about it, she's taking it with Aenea, like not involve Rachel in their domestic squabble.
100% agree.
Right. And like, Raul is so dumb if he can't clue in that it's him. It's clearly him. It's clearly time travel shenanigans. Rachel says she hadn't met the guy when, Aenea went away, but has clearly met him after that. It's Raul. It's obviously Raul. He's a dingus.
Which is why I think it would have worked for her to like slowly give us information in a plot.
It would have been so much more interesting if Aenea was like, I don't want to say manipulating, but like manipulating Raul by feeding him information in just such a way to achieve the goals that she wanted. And maybe not like even maliciously, like she's doing it because she knows I have to tell him these certain things to get these reactions from him in order to save humanity and save his life and all of us to get her happy ending. But on one hand, it feels like she's guilty about it because she feels manipulative, it feels disingenuous, and maybe Raul finds out about this at some point. It's a big sort of like thing where they have to figure it out between them. That would have been interesting, I think, like using that idea you had about them drip feeding, but nope, no, that doesn't happen. So
depressing.
Raul then asks to look in a mirror and sees that his head is shaved and covered in scars. Rachel says the scars will heal and his hair will grow back in a few weeks, and Raul grumbles about this, and Rachel says, I think it looks rather dashing, actually. I'd keep that look if I were you, Raul. Besides, I hear that Aenea is a pushover for older men, and right now, you certainly look older. Ew. So they leave the pod and meet up with Aenea and a group of others in a different pod. Aenea hugs Raul tightly and then introduces Raul to all the other people in the room. And there's a lot of them. And this book is introducing a whole bunch of new characters, like 75% of the way through this. I'm not going to like really go into their names and stuff because I'm not sure how important they are. And also, like, we only got one section left, so I never remember it for very long. Who cares? But I will give you a few of them that I like their names very much. So there are some aliens named Ooeal and Leon. It's basically Oeal and Leon, Leon, but every letter is doubled. So it's Ooeaall and Lleeoon for no reason. Love it. So good. So good.
So by aliens, what exactly do you mean?
They're aliens. They're two of the surviving. The Ousters aren't aliens. The Ousters are humans.
Everybody's an alien to somebody.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But we never mentioned the aliens before until now, right?
No, we have. So these are two of the surviving Senache empaths from Hebron.
Oh, excuse me. I see.
Yes. In the previous books, Simmons went on and on about one point where, like, humanity, as they spread out, they killed off all the different creatures on the planet. Like, they killed off anything that was sentient. Like, they killed all the massive flying things in Whirl, which, you know, the gas giant Whirl. And they killed off the Senche empaths. And they were trying to kill off the wraiths in the ice planet, right? All those sentient creatures. So there are aliens. They were just being murdered off by humans as they terraformed and spread across from the hegemony.
That sounds correct.
Right. So that was like book 1 or 2 of this whole series. So I forgive you if you're not remembering all of this. There are also ousters and androids of all variety, but also those greenish disc platelet things Raul saw while like kayaking on that gas giant. Remember how he had like the cuttlefish and they were surrounded by all these little disc things?
No, all I remember were the cuttlefish.
Yeah, I don't remember any disc things either.
Are the cuttlefish there?
No. Well, yes. Yes, they are. But here's the thing. The cuttlefish, not sentient. They're called blimps. These things, the platelets, are sentient, and they like herd the blimps. And they have colonized 10,000 oxygen-rich gas giant planets with the cuttlefish and them as like the shepherds.
So are the shepherds the ones that we're talking to?
No. Maybe? I don't know. It's very unclear.
Wait, I need to know if the cuttlefish aren't sentient, then how are they talking?
I mean, again, levels of sentience. Maybe they're symbiotically linked with the platelet things. I don't know. They're called blimps. It's very funny. So also, they mentioned that some of the planets they colonized were Whirl, and they were exterminated there by humans. And also Jupiter, where they're also exterminated by humans. But Jupiter is not oxygen-rich. It's, like, mostly hydrogen, I'm pretty sure. So, like, what are you talking about, Simmons? I don't understand.
His encyclopedia was wrong.
Anyway, the cuttlefish are back, and I'm very happy about that.
Yay!
They don't do anything, but they're there.
I thought they would do something.
Oh, boy. Here's my favorite part. Guess what other 2 people are present here in this meeting? Throw out some guesses.
People from the first book?
Yeah, somebody.
Give me some names. Give me some people.
It's going to be infuriating. Whoever this is going to be infuriating.
Saul.
Not Saul. He's dead.
I know, but time travel.
Yeah.
Braun Lamia.
Nope. Also dead.
Yeah, well, again. The Shrike.
I hope it's not Kassad.
Nope, not yet. It is Kassad. Kassad's there, baby. Benedict Kassad's there. And most excitingly, true voice of the tree, Het Masting, baby! My favorite Templar is back!
And after his insane death.
Yeah. He's here, baby! Kassad and Het Masting are both here with the Ousters at this war council 300 years later. So good.
I was sure Kassad didn't actually die. whatever.
We'll get into it. He kind of does. It doesn't matter. We'll get into it. We'll get into all of this. But right now, Kassad and Hetmastian are just ignored. We'll get to them later. So then a war council starts up with everyone present, including Desoya. The recent intelligence shows the Pax is gearing up for a big crusade. Over 300 Archangel ships are staging for a launch. Clearly, they're targeting this location, which is a massive home base for the Ousters. The Paxes actually know what they have here, but they know that the Ousters have been staging a bunch of their strikes and defenses from this location, so they're preparing to take out the heart of their civilization or fleet or something, whatever it is. It's very important area. There's no way to stop the launch. None of their ships could get there in time because after Desoya's Archangel ship was destroyed, they have no ships that can travel faster than instantaneously. Everything they have would be 2 months of time debt to get there. So they can't stop them. They're woefully outgunned here anyway. And they're like, what are we going to do? And Nea's like, let's take a break. We should, quote, meet on the Yggdrasil to share the main meal in 7 hours and continue this discussion. So guess what's also back, baby? The tree ship. The Yggdrasil's back.
Didn't it get destroyed or something?
It got blown up above Hyperion, yeah.
Did they pick a little seed from it and regrow it?
I don't know. We'll get to it, maybe.
They covered it with cruciforms and it regenerated itself.
So how happy are you that everyone's back? Look, Phil, if you hated all the retconning that happened in the previous part about the cruciforms, get ready for a whole bucket of retcon coming your way.
He looks so mad.
This is so good.
I was hoping Kassad was going... Okay.
I love Kassad. He is... honestly, one of my favorite characters just because of how insane he is. And look, he's the character I understand. He's not complicated. He has a motivation. He doesn't engage in a lot. He's he's along for the ride. He doesn't really understand what's going on. But he's I don't need to understand what's going on. I'm a soldier. I can do that. I'm yeah, buddy, I feel you. Anyway, Raul and Aenea retire to their private quarters where they eat, and Aenea explains a little about everything around here, like how the containment field for the structures are created by Urgs, that the Ousters and Templars have been working on this project for thousands of years, and it's not complete yet. They work to preserve the hunted species. So, they are, preservation. They're trying to save all the sentient species that humanity and the Technocore have been wiping out, basically. Raul asks about Hetmastian and Kassad, hey, in the Cantos, it very clearly said they died, so how are they here? And Aenea confirms that they will die. We all die, Raul. Everyone dies. So, don't worry about that. But, for instance, while the Cantos told of Hetmastian being taken by the Shrike, remember when he disappeared from that ship while they were traveling across the Grass Sea, and the room was covered with blood, and they didn't find him later until he reappeared after being killed by the Shrike in the desert? And she's like, well, the Cantos didn't say where he went, or when he went, or for how long he was gone. So, guess what, baby? He spent that time here!
He's so mad.
The Shrike basically took Hetmastian from the first book, teleported him to this book, is hey, hang out for a little while, and then once he's done here or something, he'll teleport him back to the Valley of the Time Tombs where he's going to die. So, yep, there you go.
Philip's just shaking his head.
I'm trying very hard not to swear.
And so, what Aenea says is that Martin didn't know about this. He didn't have all the answers. He had incomplete information, and so he was writing his Cantos, he just left stuff out or kind of made stuff up to fill in the gaps. So apparently, not only are these books we're reading unreliable narration books driven by Raul's narration from the prison, but apparently both the previous two books are also unreliable narrators from Martin narrating them in his Cantos. So everything's unreliable. You can't trust anything. Nothing matters. Nothing makes sense. Anything could be true. Who knows?
Plot twist. It's all a lie.
Hey, Philip, how do you feel about those answers now? You still having those answers? I told you, be careful what you wish for. You got answers. You're going to really hate the answers you get next. So for Kassad, who supposedly went to the future with Rachel, battled all the Shrikes, then had his body entombed in the crystal monolith to be sent back in time with Rachel and also the Shrike, apparently, Raul puts it like this. So although the Cantos clearly said that Kassad had destroyed the Shrike in the great final battle, the monster was somehow alive and traveling with Monita and Kassad's body back through time? And Aenea replies, Uncle Martin had to fake parts of the tale, He has some descriptions from Rachel, but he took poetic license on the parts he did not understand. And so again, nothing matters. Everything is just a veil of mystery, a narration told by someone who heard it secondhand is making stuff up. So,
AKA, I am tired. I have to finish this book anyway, so I'm just gonna say that nobody knows anything anymore. It's gonna happen.
He's just like, nothing matters, everything matters. I can make anything up in this book. And Tim's like, I'm going to do it. I can make anything up and I can justify it by time travel or, hey guys, the previous books, yeah, the guy who wrote those didn't know what he was talking about.
You mentioned that Simmons was trying to pull the biggest troll effort, and I thought you were mostly joking. And now it sounds like this is... This almost reminds me of the fourth Matrix movie recently. Like how the writer was like, oh, I have to write this movie. It's going to happen without me, so might as well go and flat out say that I don't care about this story anymore. So
Yeah. Great. Love that. It's very funny.
Oh my God.
So Aenea's like, it's all more complicated than that, and I can explain, but later, because right now we have to make love for hours.
Ew, no.
Of course.
So here comes the 0G sex scene, everybody. Get ready.
Why?
Okay, I'm going to skip it because largely, who cares? Also, honestly, and I never thought I'd say this, I think Asimov did this kind of thing better in The Gods Themselves. So there you go.
I'd forgotten about that till now, thanks.
You're welcome.
Is that your first episode, right? Or is it?
Yeah,
Sure
so
was.
Big perfect.
But I'm going to share, this goes on for pages, so I'm going to share just one snippet from it because it's very funny to me. So Aenea maneuvers Raul into a 0G69 and while they engage in that, Raul has this thought of a cat back in Taliesin West where, quote, I would watch that cat lap slowly from her bowl of cream. I visualize that cat now. But within minutes, I could visualize nothing but the immediate and overpowering sense of my dear friend, why friend, opening to me, of the subtle taste of the sea. I don't think women taste like the sea. I'm going to put that up there.
Gross.
I don't think they taste like the sea. I'm going to say it. I think it's a bad comparison. I don't think they taste like the sea. I'm sorry. If you disagree with me, that's your opinion. But maybe get it checked out. I don't know.
I just imagine Simmons like sitting in his chair smoking a cigar. He's like, dear readers, let me tell you what I actually care about. This story
Let me
you
tell
want
you.
to hear answers for? Let's focus.
It's just like, I can
on the
imagine
sea.
this is like, this sounds like something for like American Pie, or like, you want to know, like we're a bunch of teenagers who don't know anything about sex, or like, you want to know the best sexual technique? Just imitate a cat drinking milk. That's definitely going to work. And you're like, no, don't do that. Please don't do that.
You know how sometimes in a story it just like rotates around from being so bad it goes good? This has rotated like 7 times.
200 times. Like it's gone all the way back in. Danielle, as a woman, let me ask you, accurate, inaccurate, salty like the sea, cat drinking milk. How does that feel?
What a question to ask.
Isn't that more a man question? I'm not like licking myself.
Look, I don't know. I don't know what you've done, Danielle.
I was
I'm
about
going
to
to
ask
assume.
that I'm a little morbidly curious how the 0G, plays a role in this scene, and I got the
How
answer
did they
before I even
stay
asked.
together?
So, yeah.
There's a lot of like wrapping arms around legs to pull the person closer, or wrapping ankles around someone's waist, that kind of thing.
Do they like push each other off and bounce off the walls and then come back together?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's very funny. Again, it goes into detail. It's fine. It's not like, that was just the grossest part. I thought it was very funny.
It feels like a scene he thought of at the very beginning of writing this book, and he was like, I'm going to put this in somewhere.
That's what he said.
But
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
there you go.
Ew.
So we're skipping ahead to the dinner party in the Yggdrasil. Everyone is there, and Raul starts to record on his comm log as it becomes what basically is like an impromptu Aenea discussion group. First, the head of the Templars has a little introduction toast about how they have been in what the Shrike Church called the Days of Atonement for almost 300 years, but it's almost over. And today, on board this reborn Yggdrasil, they will determine the future. So I guess they regrew the Yggdrasil. Danielle, you were right.
yay. I'm surprised religions exist in this reality. I'm not surprised, because religion's gonna religion, but like...
Yeah.
they're like, what? Shrike Church, regular church, Buddhism, like
Zen
random
Gnostics,
fake Messiah over here.
The color people from Baliana's V or Gray Baliana's V or whatever.
Yeah.
The Helix Spectrum. The Helix Spectrum. That's what they're called.
There's so much like weird nonsense going in with like lions, tigers, and bears, all that weird stuff. Like you just think it would be hard to justify religion even more than it is now.
Well, I think the idea is that like the religious philosophies don't have to be Judeo-Christian ideas of, an all-powerful creator. And a lot of the first books talk about how, oh yeah, they are going to make the god. We just haven't made God yet. The god comes from humanity. Right. So, there's that aspect of it. There's also the aspect of it, hey, diversification of philosophies. The whole point of human diversification in Aenea's perspective is to create all these different religions, different ideas, choose again, keep choosing, keep making new ideas, and keep, expanding.
I'm going to assume the Shrike religion is the correct one.
I mean, obviously the Shrike is real, so it has to be.
I mean, it's the only, as far as we know, the only one we've seen where you're you can see the god.
So, one of the ousters asks Aenea, as a future seer, if she can say with any certainty if the biosphere, the star tree, the Dyson sphere, will survive. Aenea says she can't, so sorry. She then asks if an ouster can explain for the newcomers, i.e. Raul and us, a little of their background history.
She's like the magic 8-ball of seers.
Yep.
She's
shake her and get an answer.
Nope, not today.
No. The answer is always unclear, ask again later.
Yeah. Choose again.
Choose again. That's a great one, yes. It's a magic 8-ball with only one option, which is choose again. We should make that. Somebody please make that magic 8-ball. I would love it. I would buy it. All right, so here we go. Ouster background exposition dump. Here we go. The Ouster started out as people sent out as colonists from Earth in massive colony ships with some of the best bioengineers and artists in the universe to find habitable worlds and, lacking terraforming technology, to bioengineer themselves and the millions of life forms they brought from Earth into viable adaptations for the world they found. Some found Earth-like worlds like Tau Ceti and Barnard's world, but most found they had to adapt themselves to either the planet to survive or finding no planet to live in space itself. So this is how the Ousters bioengineered themselves in all these different forms to adapt themselves to the planets rather than trying to adapt the planets to them with terraforming.
Why is it called Barnard's World?
Why is it called anything, Danielle?
It sounds like a place, like a play place for kids.
Welcome to Barnard's World, boys and girls. We're going to have so much fun.
Who gets on a planet is Danielle's world.
Honestly, I would do that, right?
Of course you would.
Would you do that? Yeah, so I think your question answers itself.
Barnard is just Sam.
Yeah, Barnard did it, Danielle. Obviously, Barnard. Awesome. Although I do like the idea that it's a giant play place.
That's what it sounds like.
So, from this adaptation grew their philosophy of spreading life throughout the galaxy, adapting into all the unique conditions of the universe until life fills every corner of the universe, all the space in between, turning the whole galaxy green, yada, 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 what Aenea was talking about earlier. They have been tailoring humans to fit the demands of the environment, and they're all still human as of yet. They can still interbreed, but there's a gulf between them as they continue to adapt, and soon humanity could fragment into dozens or millions of species. The Church can't abide this diversification, and that's why they're at war.
Sure.
Which tracks, yes, sure, makes sense.
Okay.
The Dalai Lama then asks Aenea what the cruciform is and why it should be shunned. Aenea says that when the core lost its control of humanity by way of the Farcasters and the ability to leech computational power from human brains through the Farcaster network, they need to pivot to another form of control and parasitism. The cruciform connects to the core, but even the core doesn't have enough data storage capabilities, and they won't have enough, even in the future when they have the UI invented, to store the, quote, 6 times 10 to the 23rd bytes needed to store human minds and personality. And those of you who might know something recognize that number, 6 times 10 to the 23rd. Philip, Danielle, you know what that number is? 61022 times 10 to the 23rd. It's Avogadro's number, everybody. Avogadro's number.
Sam's math corner.
No. It's chemistry. It's how many particles are in a mole, everybody. It's everyone's favorite number in chemistry.
I don't know that one.
It's just a big number that he clearly just hey, how many bytes does it take to store human personality? Let's just pull another science-y sounding number from the ether and use Avogadro's number, just like he used the Planck time to make the Void Witch binds. Very good. Very nice. Anyway, she says that you can't, the Technocore doesn't have the capability to store a human mind. So actually, the resurrection can never work with the Technocore. Instead, by ravaging the Void which binds, they can do this. The Void records the individual wavefront personalities, and the Cruciform is just there for data transfer, to transfer the data from the people's minds to the Void which binds and back again through the resurrection crashes. But every time a person is resurrected, parts of thousands of other personalities, human and otherwise, are erased from the, quote, more permanent record that is the Void which binds, which apparently is evil and needs to be stopped. Got all that? Y'all look completely blank.
So the Void which binds is destroying things.
No, they're destroying the void which binds to resurrect people and use it as like a destructive data transfer medium somehow. Data storage
Isn't
medium.
the void which binds something that they use for a bunch of other stuff too?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why would you destroy the thing that you're like use?
Guess you're abusing it.
Danielle,
I mean, we do that a lot. But
I'm gonna say, Danielle, come on.
Can you like replenish it? Like we can replant some trees. I'm not saying we do that successfully. I'm just saying we could.
Look, Danielle,
when we take them down for wood, we could replant them.
I think we can't throw stones here. Yes, is it self-destructive? Maybe, but like, who are we to talk? I don't know, Danielle. The answer is I don't know if there's a way to replenish the void which binds. If there is a finite, like, is the void which bind infinite? It might be infinite. I don't know. It's unclear.
Okay.
But also the court uses the cruciform to, again, leech human brain power. But this time, they leech it when people die. So Aenea says, it's a well-known fact, obviously, that when a brain is dying, it's at its peak creativity. It's like people are dying. That's where they come up with their best ideas. It's peak creative time for a brain when it's dying, apparently. So what the technocore lacks is creativity because they're, computational machines. So what it does is it harvests all this creativity every time a human brain dies. Like, yes, computational creativity. We can use this to creatively solve all of our computational problems and do all this stuff.
It doesn't seem very effective, does it?
Yeah, well, again, who knows how good this is. And so when they need more death for more creative solutions to their computations, they engineer human death. Like accidents are increasing across the packs. As are violent deaths, there are increases in heart disease and cancer and such. The archangel ships, which kill everybody on board when they translate, are another source of death. So the core is like creating these more common deaths for people. But people don't care because death to the packs is like a commodity. It's cheap. You die, you get resurrected. Who cares? But to the technocore, it's this big resource they can use to power their computations. So there you go. That's the true nature of the cruciform.
So where did the cruciform come from originally?
It was engineered by the technocore in the future and sent back in time on Hyperion.
So it's like not an organic thing; it's an engineered thing.
Bioengineered, yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. At least that's the last explanation we had. Maybe that explanation will change in the future. I don't know. I think Filip has just gone glassy-eyed. I think he's over it.
It sounds like it's very metal that you harness computational power by constant death. That's thought.
I mean, that's a pretty cool idea.
It is kind of
Perpetual death for powering your computer? Sign me up. So Desai's all like, is there no hope for the church? Because he's still a man of faith. And Aenea assures him that there are many like him who wish for the church to return to its roots of being concerned with spiritual matters and not like dictatorial matters, being a government.
True story.
Yep, exactly that too. Again, I think Simmons has a lot of interesting ideas. Some of them are confusing, but I agree with his philosophy overall, usually, sometimes, except for when I don't. It's complicated.
Usually, except when I don't.
This statement went sideways real quick. It's like...
Yeah, look, I feel like I have to channel Aenea and say, like, it's complicated, I'll explain it later.
Yeah, exactly. Just choose again.
Yep. So Het Mastine chimes in and is, look, I know the story goes that they find me dead in the Valley of the Time Tombs in the past / my future. That's fine, I don't care about that. But is it true that just before dying I cry out, I am the true chosen, I must guide the tree of pain during the time of atonement? Which I don't remember if that happened in the previous book, but I'm going to assume it does because it's cool. Aenea confirms this, and also that she'll be using the Yggdrasil as the tree of pain for the atonement, as the prophecy attests, and she's leaving in like 3 days. Many of the people here are invited on the final voyage, and she wants Het Mastine to captain the Yggdrasil, which will be known henceforth as the Tree of Pain. And yes, I am here for this. Remember Het Mastine's plan to fly the Tree of Pain and like put people on spikes with the Shrike?
This
and, like,
was your dream come true.
That's happening. This is happening.
I can't believe you got your wish.
Back.
It's finally happening, guys. It's like, yes.
We've complained for like 3 books that went nowhere.
Yeah.
From all the things that he could have done, but this is the one, yes.
Ye of little faith. Simmons, I'm sorry I doubted you, man. You brought it back. You brought back the Tree of Pain, flying through space, putting people on spikes. I mean, maybe not the spikes. We can only hope the spikes come into play. This is great. Loving it.
We're back. Sam's the biggest fan of Hyperion again. Just this was enough to do that.
If this pays off, like if they actually like fly around the big...
Yeah, who knows?
Right, like it might just be like a metaphorical Tree of Pain, in which case I'm out. But if it's a literal Tree of Pain, I'm here for it.
It's going to generate the highest surge of computational creativity that has ever been generated.
No, because no one dies. Remember, it doesn't kill them. It puts them in pain, but keeps them alive.
No,
so
that's also very creative,
right?
right? So when they suffer real hard, it's also very creative in their brain. So
sure, yeah, maybe I don't know.
It's gonna be an
So they can
alternative
recite
source.
poetry.
So it's like poetry, yeah. They gotta recite poetry on the tree of pain.
It's worse than death, so it must generate more creativity.
I'm so stoked, guys. You have no idea how happy I was over this paragraph. I'm like, I can't wait to tell you guys about this. Like, all worth it. All aboard, baby. You paid. Toot toot.
It's been all worth it. All four books have been worth it just for this moment.
If it pays off, I can still be disappointed. Please, Simmons, you got my hopes up. Don't dash them now.
No, this is not something you should be doing. But okay.
Too late. They're already sky high. So another person asks Aenea about all the non-Christians being put into stasis on the Labyrinth world. And Aenea confirms that the church is doing that because it wants to get rid of all the other religions, because church is going to church. And that the core gets to use those stasis people as a computational resource to continue their ultimate intelligence project, turning them into like a giant biocomputer. So it's like a win-win. The two of them get everything they want. One of the ousters then says that when they begin their own assault on the Pax, rescuing those people will be their top priority. And they're like, how can you rescue them? Can they be brought out of stasis? And Aenea says the only way to save them is by striking directly at the core. And Aenea says that despite Mina Gladstone's belief that the core existed in like the Farcaster medium, that's not true. It has a physical location, and she thinks she knows where it is, but she's not going to tell anyone yet, not until she's certain. And the core can't be attacked with physical weapons anyway, but she promises to personally carry out the attack to the physical core, and the attack has already begun in ways she hopes to make clear later. So, we're getting somewhere, maybe. She's going to use the Tree of Pain and drive it into the heart of the core, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Sure hope so.
Right? So then Cassad speaks up and is all like, look, I'm very confused. I read the Cantos, and I know that probably shouldn't have, because looking into your own future is a bad idea for reasons. And I know that I arrived here some months ago with Monita, who disappeared to be replaced by a younger version known as Rachel. But aren't I supposed to fight a Legion of Shrikes, like, right now, and then be entombed and traveling back in time with Monita in the time tombs? Like, how is it possible I'm also here now? Like, what's going on? Am I in the wrong timeline? And Aenea reiterates that Martin got a bunch of stuff wrong, since not all of the details were available to him, that the Battle of the Shrike is true, however metaphorically rendered, whatever that means. One possible future is for him to die in battle with many Shrike-like warriors, but if that happens, it would be after many years and many other battles. So, I hope that clears up the whole thing with Cassad.
It sure did not.
No? Okay. Oh, Philip, this is for you. Now Cassad's going to ask about the Shrike. And Cassad wants to know more about the true nature of the Shrike. So Cassad asks if the Shrike will be on the Tree of Pain when it departs in 3 days. And Aenea's like, yeah, I believe it will be. So cool. Shrike's on board. It's Pain Train, baby. And then Aenea admits that while she knows the true nature of the Shrike, she's never told anyone. But if he asks her directly and is pressed, she will, though she starts to tear up, and it's quite upsetting for her. But Cassad presses on and is all, so, the Shrike is a core created thing, an amalgam of core technological wizardry, void which binds energy, and the cybrid recycled personality of a real human being. Isn't that true? And the Shrike will be created by the core, but will become a servant and avatar of other powers, entities. And it starts with the personality of a single warrior, does it not? Perhaps an opponent in this 1,000-year game. And Aenea says, yes, Colonel, parts of your persona, but only parts of it, will be incorporated into the living construct called the Shrike. Cassad is the Shrike, everybody! We did it! We figured it out! Cassad's the Shrike! Hey-o! Wow, 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 Cassad Shrike!
I thought you were going to tell us that Raul was the Shrike somehow.
Nope, it's Cassad!
No.
It's better than the Raul. It's an actual warrior.
I knew where this was going as soon as you started talking. It was so bad.
Yeah, Philip. How do you like the Managers now, baby? Still excited for them?
How do you like the Managers now?
So he was fighting against himself.
So Cassad is all like, but can I also live to beat it in battle? And he's like, yeah, sure. And the irony of him beating the Shrike, but also the Shrike being him, it sends Cassad to this fit of laughter. He's like, this is hilarious. It doesn't make any sense. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure.
This is the worst answer by far. This is the worst.
We got there, everyone. We found it.
The whole night reading about all this research, biology mutations, parasitic, whatever, just to make myself satisfied with all these answers about the Shrike, and I kind of felt a little bit of some kind of meaning in it, and now you say this, completely undermined all my efforts.
No, sorry, Philip. The half hour you spent explaining those scientific papers to us meant nothing. They were wasted of time.
So the answer is just Kassad just fought himself.
No, Kassad fought a hybrid recreation of his persona or parts of his persona in the strike.
Himself.
Because he's the ultimate warrior, so when they wanted to make the ultimate fighting machine, they used Kassad, obviously.
Obviously.
So good. Amazing.
Amazing 100%
stuff.
the worst thing from this whole series.
Really?
I mean, from a perspective of ruining the coolest part of the book, the Shrike, yes. From the perspective of the thing that makes you the most uncomfortable, no.
Yeah, of course, but makes me the most mad, probably.
That's fair.
But you can imagine Kassad being a DJ, dropping sick beats, and that's pretty funny.
Can you imagine? I want to reimagine the fight between Kassad and the Shrike when he got into his Quicksilver suit, as them having a DJ battle.
Yes, they had a DJ off.
Exactly, in the desert, the time tunes. DJ versus DJ. Only one Kassad will live.
Now, the only thing that can make this worse is that the Shrike still has a little bit of a grasp of Kassad's consciousness and his memories and his personality. And when Kassad does things with Moneta while the Shrike is covering them in blood, it's himself doing it. That's the only thing that can make this even worse.
Hey, try this one on for size, Philip. Remember when Kassad was having sex with Moneta in the Time Tomb Desert, and Moneta transformed into a female Shrike with a vagina dentata?
Exactly. That's what exactly.
What was that? What was going on there? Yeah, figure that one out.
That's exactly what I was trying to...
Yeah. So was he having sex with himself?
Yes.
That's just masturbation. Fair, but...
It's all a metaphor. He's fighting himself. He's playing with himself. It's all with himself.
This is so good. This is amazing. The best revelation we've had so far. Completely nerfs the
find out that Moneta
Shrike.
is also himself somehow cloned into a girl. And...
Yeah. All right, so moving off from the best part of the book. Lastly, Rachel asks Aenea about the others, the lions and tigers and bears, who supposedly have observers among them. Aenea confirms that, that's a literal thing. They literally have observers here. And Rachel asks, hey, is one of them in the room with us right now? Aenea says, I can't say anything. I won't say anything, because there are those who would kill an observer in an instant to defend the packs or preserve what they think it is to be human. And are any of those people in this room? Are any of the people who aren't packs going to be the ones who kill him? But she's nope, not going to take that risk, I guess. Anyway, she refuses to answer yes, but says, I promise you that this mystery will be solved in the not too distant future, which is basically the thesis of this book. The conversation and meal wrap up. Raul and Aenea go off to have more sex, and afterwards Aenea offers Raul a glass of wine, which he clocks as having been spiked with her blood. The communion. Aenea confirms it's time, and Raul doesn't hesitate. He chugs it down. Aenea begins to cry, saying, for what you've done for me, in my name, you will be hunted and persecuted. You will be the first among all those who follow me, Raul. You will be the leader in the decades and decades of struggle to come. You will be respected and hated, obeyed and despised. They will want to make a god of you, my darling.
He's not smart enough for this role.
No.
What is she doing?
You're putting your eggs in the wrong basket, girl. And Raul's I'm no leader. And he says that he was her chosen one since before she was born. And when she falls, he will continue on for both of them. They both must live through him.
What if this is just a bad relationship? She's just...
codependent?
She just chose a bad dude and she doesn't realize it.
She was 12 and got fixated on this guy and did not grow out of it. And he was just creepy enough to be 12-year-old, sure, let's do this.
And the reason why she doesn't say when he dies, when he asked her, when am I supposed to die? She wouldn't tell him. It's because she has no idea because she's not even
she's making all up.
She's not even supposed to be with him.
So Raul silences her, saying no more talk of falling. They affirm their love and have sex again. End of this section. End of the episode. We're going to wrap it there with Raul being set to be the new hero, the new god made by man. Raul, the guy we all like the most.
Man god.
Man god. Raul. So Philip, how do you feel about that episode? Do you feel good about what you learned in this section? You were so excited when you came in, when you had all this information about Thomas Ray, right?
Yeah.
Tom Ray, you had all the information about, this all makes sense. It's all coming from this paper. And the Reaper is the strike. And it's, no.
No.
No, sorry, Philip. I mean, I really kind of felt bad about crushing your spirit. I was like, he's going to hate this.
The moment you started talking, I knew instantly Kassad was the Shrike, and I was just holding my head. Just the ultimate facepalm. I don't know. So bad.
Yep. So bad. Yep. Kassad's the Shrike. Shrike-Sod. Kashrike? I don't know.
But even just everybody constantly reassuring everybody that nobody knows what they're talking about. Is Ontario doing.
Hey guys, the entire first book was either incomplete or made up or wasn't. There's no way to know, and you'll never know. It's just whenever the author decides to retcon, he can retcon, and it totally makes sense because the first story was told by Martin Salinas, who was unreliable.
I have to say, if there's something I hate about storytelling, it's constantly bringing up characters from the very beginning of the story for no reason, and just having them do something very important for no reason. It's like a trope.
I think Kassad is very important. I mean, he's not been brought up from the very beginning. He's been there the whole time as the Shrike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
I've never seen Philip this upset. Yeah. It's so good. I think you've moved beyond anger to wrath.
Yeah, this stage is never gonna end. It's gonna be just wrath until the end.
He's not getting to acceptance.
No acceptance coming.
Yeah, you were so positive you were gonna get through this and have closure, but
to bring up June again.
I tried to warn you.
In book 7 of June, they no reason bring up all the characters from the first book. For no reason. Like, why do the writers do this? This is like the dumbest thing you can do. Just let it go. Make it more sense. Like, the revelation to have a character be something that it shouldn't be is not satisfying.
Make less sense. Make the Shrike not just Kassad, but also Braun Lamia. Make it like a combo. A wombo combo.
That's why I said nice.
Can you imagine Braun Lamia Shrike?
That's why I was happy about the answer, because I thought that was the end of it.
To be fair, this is from Raul's perspective, so maybe it didn't happen.
Maybe he's just making like he's hallucinating all of this, and he's dying in that cat box and making this all up.
Maybe he misheard it. Maybe he was like kind of half listening and was like, "Wait, what's happening? What? He's the Shrike? Okay, sure."
I love we're 80% of the way through this book, and Raul is still in the prison writing this all down. We haven't caught up to the present.
Well, he's never gonna do that. I don't think that's gonna ever happen. I think he's just...
Oh, no, it happened. I remember it happened, and I remember being very angry. I was like, come on, book.
It's gonna be like the last page.
Something to look forward to.
Hey, look, we'll either find out in the next section if I remember correctly, or we won't. Or it won't happen at all, but when we're another, we'll have an answer.
Sam could be an unreliable narrator.
Again, I could be making up most of the stuff in these books just to...
That would have been so funny if just you... the last, 12 episodes you've been like, yeah, I'm just gonna say things.
I'm just not reading this book and make up stuff.
It's not like we would have argued.
Danielle, I wish I had that kind of creativity. I don't think I have the capability of making up this much stuff. I mean, props to Simmons. I can't believe he brought back the tree ship and the tree of pain and Mastine. I was so happy.
Yeah, it was your favorite character.
He was, you gotta admit, he had the best plan. He had the best strike wish of anyone in the book. And it was the coolest idea. It's gotta happen. We gotta have that atonement happen.
It would have been funny if Mastine had been the Shrike.
I would have found it very funny if the Shrike was some kind of an amalgam of all 7 pilgrims. That was the whole point of the pilgrimage. It's all become the Shrike.
That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah. There's the whole point is the Shrike is killing his own personalities. Is the whole thing.
That would be actually way cooler.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just Kassad, apparently. It's based on a single warrior, Kassad. It's Kassad all the way down. Forget Keats. It's Kassad's time to shine.
At least Kassad got some answers out of Aenea, unlike a certain other character.
Yeah, well, he actually asked the questions. He kept asking the questions.
He didn't say, hey, how many people have you slept with? What's your body count, man?
Yeah, reading the actual book, he's very persistent. He's interrogating her, asking this is what happens, right? And he's saying, is this true? And he's whereas Raul had been I don't care. Let's either have sex or I can ask you more questions about your past that you're not going to answer. All right, Philip, are you so excited to see how this is going to end next time? Are you excited to get to the ending, or are you afraid?
Cannot wait. Yes.
I'm surprised you're still eager for that. I thought this would be the one that would be I'm not coming back. I'm done.
There is no going back away or whatever it means.
What's your
point of no return?
In Hyperion, you can't get out of it.
Just get stuck.
It's like a black hole.
Exactly. No escape.
You've hit the event horizon. There's no way out.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for sticking through this. What started out as a very educational episode ended up as a very sad and angry episode. So,
Sad and angry episode.
So join us next time for the final. I'll be finally free of the Curse of Hyperion. Last Hyperion chapter I'll have to do, unless we do the holiday special. We'll see.
Then it'll be my turn. I'll have to find some kind of like sci-fi or fantasy book to.
You can do
like,
a million episodes of.
To do a trilogy of.
Honestly, I kind of feel like I've like fulfilled my purpose in life. Like I can die now. I'm done.
The last 10 years of your life, it's fulfilled.
I've done the Hyperion series on this podcast. I'm done. I can be like, take me now. I fulfilled it. Not really, but I feel like Martin Salinas, like he's finally finished the Cantos. He can't die until he finishes the Cantos. Like I can't end the podcast until I finish this series.
This Cantos.
Yep. All right. Well, if you have suggestions of who else could be the Shrike, you can email them to us at bookretorts.com.
You can also blue sky us.
Yeah, sky us, baby.
You can also blue sky us at Book Retorts.
And if you want to help fund the inevitable shock therapy to remove the notion of Kasabi the Shrike from Philip's brain, you can fund his recovery at patreon.com/bookretorts.
I'll become the Shrike itself at this rate.
And if you want to hear Philip talk about a book he actually likes, Dune, you can do that on his podcast, Mind Duck Books. Philip, where can they reach out to you?
mindduckbooks.com. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And just to end this episode, I have to say, Section 2.4.4, Paragraph 4. In addition to imitations, the execution of Tyrian instructions is flawed at a low rate. For most of the 32 instructions, the result is off by plus or minus 1 at some low frequency. For example, the increment instruction normally adds 1 to its register, but it sometimes adds 2 or 0. The bit flipping instruction normally flips the low order bit, but it sometimes flips the next higher bit or no bit.
I'm just going to fade him out as we end the episode and the music comes in. Bye, everybody. See you next time.
That was exactly my intention. She just played it out.
Take care, everybody.
And I'd like to send you tomray.me, which I would like you to look at right now. And I'd like to tell you a few things about this guy. That's the personal website of Thomas S. Ray that's still updated until today.
Sure. Looks like a website from the 80s or 90s.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I'd like you to scroll all the way down and look at the last line of this page.
I studied Japanese by translating traditional Japanese children's stories into English.
And then?
Here are some traditional Japanese smiley faces.
Yeah, that's on his official scientific website. So you can look at the list of Japanese smiley faces.
A man can have some whimsy in his life. It's not all serious.